The beauty of everything. What it do, everyone? You are now tuned into Good Conversation and Shenanigans. And I have some very good conversationalists along with their drinks and shenanigans. Z, you don't have a drink. Z money, no drinks. There it is. Okay. I mean, me too. I got a little KFC drink. I don't pretend what you want is in it. It's fine. So yes, I am joined by Z Money. I got it right this time. Okay. Jina. You can say hi. Like you can say hi. Like you can. It's fine.
Okay. Hello.
And Queen.
Hi.
What's up, Queen? You all right? What are you drinking, Queen?
Moscato.
Oh, we grown.
Yeah.
That's how we feel. Okay. And Gina, you are drinking your homemade
strawberry margarita.
Okay.
Ooh.
Homemade strawberry margaritas. All right. Not gonna ask you to share the recipe. I understand it's a work in progress.
Yes.
All right. That's cool. All right, so look, here on Good Conversation and Shenanigans, what happens is everyone brings a topic to the table. I don't know what the topics are most of the time. But we are going to go around. Everybody's going to talk about their topic, and we're just going to have some good conversation and probably some shenanigans because it's how we do here. So let's apply a little pressure. That's one of the things I'm good at. Who wants to go first? Ooh, pressure. Should I go first? Is that what that means? That I have to go first?
Yeah.
That's what it seems like. It seems like
okay.
I usually try to look.
Don't you usually go last?
I do. Like as the host, I feel like it's only right that you know what I mean, that other people go first. But under the circumstances, it seems like I might need to lead. I might even be getting ready to change my topic because of what's happening right now. Let's I would really like to talk to you all about dragons. Look at this. Do you guys want to talk about dragons? Because right now it's starting to feel like maybe we should talk about social anxiety in very unsocial spaces. Because nobody's watching this right now. It's just us. Yes, people will watch it later, but there's like, should we talk about social anxiety in non-social spaces? And not that we have not all been together in the same place, speaking to one another, which is all this is. Would you rather talk about dragons?
It's your topic.
No. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No. Talk about dragons.
Queen, you don't want to talk about dragons.
No.
You would rather talk about your personal social anxiety and and what is happening to you right now. Is that what you'd rather discuss?
I don't think it's. No, it is. No, it is. I try to deny it.
Are you trying to deny it? What? Okay, so you know what? I mean, maybe we'll get to dragons, but right now, I really do kind of want to talk. Let's just start with a couple of things, okay? And this is for the group. We're all familiar with one another, correct?
Yeah.
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 Okay. Gina, have you ever done a podcast or something like this before?
No.
Okay.
Never.
But you do sometimes, for your profession, have to like talk to other people via some sort of like internet vehicle, right? To get people
Yeah.
where they need to be. Like you are like an instructor, you lead people in things. Do you experience the same kind of like maybe? Are you nervous?
Am I nervous?
Yes.
Like right now?
Yes.
I got some.
When else? Like yes, right now.
a little bit. I mean, I got some influence to help me out, but
Sure.
yeah, but with what I do in the beginning, yeah, when I was first learning, um it was very awkward and I didn't feel I could do it. Um Coming into my second year teaching, uh absolutely. Especially more so in not being virtual. I don't being in person with my kids and getting learning them and getting to know them and their likes and dislikes, and now I kind of have it where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm losing you. All right, we're going to put on a sensory video and call it a day.
Mm-hmm. So, considering what you
But
do,
if I'm being observed,
mm-hmm.
now that's a totally different story. Heck yes. My last observation, to me, it was horrible, but I did great. So,
So okay. So is it? Do you would you currently say that this feels like you're being observed?
yes.
Okay. By whom?
Well, obviously, not by you guys because I know you guys, but obviously this is going out to the public, so
Mm-hmm.
eventually it will be observed.
Okay. So are you nervous about the feedback?
I guess, yeah.
Are you just nervous about how people may perceive you?
Oh, yeah, I guess that's more so
Okay.
perception.
I want you to hold on to that thought. We're going to talk about that in a second. Z Money, you seem perfectly comfortable. Oh,
I have
okay.
to be. I
Shoulder
don't.
shrug. You don't. This is this. Okay. Okay. Queen, I'm gonna pick on you a
Yes.
little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Um,
right.
are you? I see you getting yourself ready. Like, you're nervous.
I'm always nervous, I feel like.
Is that? What do you mean always? You. Are you nervous when you're doing your job?
Well, no, but besides that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only reason why I wouldn't be nervous doing my job is because I work from home. Like my daycare is in the house
Okay.
and I'm getting help, so I'm not by myself.
Do you feel like you're by yourself right now, even though you're on screen with three other people you already know? I'm not. I recognize that the room you're in may be empty. I get that. Does it still feel like you're alone? Can you remember, like, during
No.
the early stages of the pandemic, I started a group chat, and we would have like video chats and stuff like that, just so we could feel like we weren't by ourselves. Did that not?
Right.
This is not super dissimilar from that, right?
No, it's not.
Okay. So is it? What about this? Is it the camera?
Maybe.
Okay. Is it the sound of your own voice?
It definitely is the sound of my own voice. I always hated
Yeah.
the sound of my own voice.
Okay.
So,
But now you do karaoke like 4 times a week
yeah.
And dance. I'm sorry.
and dance.
And dance.
Wait. Oh,
I
wait. Yeah.
haven't seen this
You
performance. I
you
feel left out.
it's you sing into a microphone that projects your voice more loudly than you probably ever heard before in front of people you don't know. There are people you know, but in front of people you don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes with alcohol, sometimes without.
Yeah.
What is the difference?
I don't necessarily know. Maybe it's because like when I'm in my room and I know that like my grandparents are listening, that I kind of like I have a certain persona I have to show them.
Ah, okay.
So
So they don't know about your TikTok.
no.
When you
I need to follow you on TikTok.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
Yeah, you do.
yeah.
There's some dancing and shenanigans.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So, how did you where did you summon the courage to do TikToks, to dance?
Honestly, I have no idea. I just saw other people doing it and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I can do this.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what if people judge me? And then I had like a bunch of drafts. So all those videos that are up are drafts that I did
Right.
that I held on for so long to where I was like, you know what? I don't care. So I just posted it.
Yeah.
Now, when I went to Disney World, I was
Uh-huh.
intoxicated.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. In front of the children.
Yeah, yeah,
In front of the children.
yeah.
Is okay. So you have it in you already. Like you can do it. Like
Yeah.
you have summoned the courage on a regular basis to be in front of people, listening to your own voice and having those people listen to you. And it is pretty positive, is it not?
Yeah, it is. Sometimes I just gotta like literally pull it out of myself, like shake it off. Like, what are you
Yeah.
so afraid of? But it's not that easy all the time.
Are
So
you still nervous when you get ready to sing a song that you sung a bunch of times?
yeah.
Yeah.
I still take like a deep breath and I kind of go, I don't say like get it over with. I'm kind of like you're here to have fun. Like in my head, I'm like you got this. And then
Mhm.
I'll have it. So I was like,
You'll
oh,
have fun.
what was I worrying
So
about?
that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. Like I'm trying to figure out right now.
Well,
What are you worried about?
that's gone now.
Oh, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
You're a bad liar. Gina,
Okay, a little more, I'll be fine. No, I'm kidding.
okay. I asked you to hold on to that thought, and I asked you because you also will tote yourself up in front of about 100 people or more and hold a microphone and belt out a tune
Yeah.
like it's nothing. Like you just make it happen. What is this different? What's different? Is it
Nothing.
is it a
No, now that
performance
I'm really
anxiety?
thinking about it, like nothing is different. So I'm
It's
just
not
waiting for
different.
No,
that
I mean,
moment where I'm just like, get like, what is wrong? Like sometimes I literally have to have a conversation in my head. And I know that's like weird to say,
Yeah.
but sometimes I have to have that conversation in my head. Like, what
Hmm.
are you so worried about?
That's a good
So
question. That's the same
see,
question
we know
I
what's
asked you.
weird.
What's
I
weird,
can do
Gina?
karaoke, but I can't sing at church. Like I don't
Why?
like singing at church. I get more anxiety singing at church than I do singing karaoke.
Isn't
And I don't
church more
know if
like,
it's big.
go ahead, baby, you got it. Take your time. Like, isn't church a little more like,
But isn't it more expected at church? Like if you're going to sing to church,
It's
I feel like you can't get up there and not do well. At karaoke,
that's what I'm saying. Right,
you don't have to be good
right,
at karaoke.
right.
It's a
Well, that's
lot of
kind of the
people
point
in
of
karaoke
karaoke.
that
I
are not good.
understand that like some of the point of karaoke is just like it doesn't really matter. Like everybody's just here to have a good time and enjoy the song or the choice of the song, and a lot of people will sing along. Y'all don't. So like, are you talking about like a church, like a solo, like a straight up? Okay, so here's what I need to do. I wanna um I wanna do this very carefully, but so just like answer it how you feel like you need to answer this question. Is it partially because you like the songs you pick at karaoke better than the songs at church?
um
Wait. As a matter of
yes
fact, before you answer that, when you have like a solo at church or something like that, do you pick it or someone else picking it and saying, I would like to hear you sing this?
both.
Both. Okay, so sometimes you can pick it. Okay, so then back to my original question. Do you pick songs that you like better at karaoke?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes I feel like I can't, depending on the range, that I can't trust myself.
Okay.
And so the songs I'm consistent with, I can. I mean, it depends on how intoxicated I am, but
Sure.
you know,
But you feel good about them when you do them at karaoke because you feel more confident in your range. Okay.
yes,
When you sing songs at church, do you all not practice those songs?
we do practice. We do. Which I haven't sang in church in a while because things are different now since COVID.
Mm-hmm.
But
Is the pressure different?
yeah, the pressure's
Okay.
different. Um, and I guess yeah, the pressure's different. The expectations I feel is different. One, because I'm not a child anymore, so it's totally different. Children don't have to sound great. They can sound terrible as long as they're singing.
Okay.
Um, it, and I don't know. There was a time where I sang a song that was my great grandmother's favorite song, and my mother was crying, and so like, it's expected of me to continue to do that more. Um,
To always sing songs so well that it makes people cry?
just always sing songs. I don't know. It was
Mm.
an expectation growing up too. My mom, for
Mm-hmm.
family events, family reunions, she would be playing the piano and she would be forcing me to sing, even though I didn't want
Yeah.
to.
Come put on a show. I did that. I had some of that. Mostly like poems and stuff like that, not necessarily like singing in front of family, but at family events it was like, you got to do that one poem everybody likes to hear you do. I definitely had some of that. So is some of it not so much the need to be perfect or to do it super well, um but it's the overarching expectation slash pressure. Is it like walking away and or not wanting to do it because for so long that expectation and the pressure matched each other, like they came together?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, karaoke is just like I'm freewheeling. I pick the song I want. I can sing it or I don't sing it. I can change my song at the last minute sometimes. And if I feel like, even if I feel like I don't sound good, everybody else in here is drunk anyway. Like they don't know. Like what's it like? I mean,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Are you? Do you have social anxiety?
I've always had a hard time. I don't. I've always had a hard time making friends. I feel like the awkward person. My brother has always been the one to just go up to someone, um, and quickly make friends. I do have a tendency to just, if I find that connection, It can be anything.
Okay.
It can be over something that somebody said, and like me and a stranger are like both like thinking the same thing, and then we just click and say it at the same time. Or like, yeah, I was about to say the same thing, and so I have a tendency to just throw up everything and just gush it all out
Okay.
to a to a to a complete stranger. I have that ability at times. I don't understand why, but
Okay.
I have social anxiety with people who are also close to me as well.
Hmm.
So,
And that is based on what you think their expectations are of you.
or perception, or just the general fear of not being liked if
By
I
people who
show
already know
my
you.
truth. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. If are you hiding parts of yourself from people?
Yeah, certain people can bring out certain parts of me. Um, Others, I don't know. I don't know. Either it's just not acceptable, or
Hmm.
it, I'm me and my brother are usually, especially at church, we're used to being praised for the way we dress, the way we behaved,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll hear, even though it's not side comments towards us, but we'll hear side comments
Yeah.
about the way we dress and being indirect to other youth. Um, I have to get real comfortable and feel the vibe in order to truly open myself up.
Okay. You sounds like you feel like there was a pedestal, right? That was like, even if it wasn't said directly to you, like you were used as the example, like to other people. Like, why can't you be more like them? Or how come you can't act more like them? Or how come you don't show up and keep yourself together like them? Or why can't you be quiet like you're supposed to? Like them, is that what you're talking about? Like being, if it's indirect, like somebody else using you as the the description of what they should be, and then that means that you now have to live up to that, because if you ever step outside of that, now you've let yourself down. The people who use you as the model, um and so you don't get you, it's like you don't get the opportunity, you're not allowed to make a mistake. Is that kind of fair? That there's a different
Yeah,
kind of pressure that comes along with that.
yeah. And just expectations growing up, um, and now me being older. The older I got, like especially turning 21, I kind of like slowly started to do what I wanted and
Mm-hmm.
not care and not take. Sorry, I don't know if we can curse on here, but not
You can if you want to.
take
It's fine.
not take shit from other people. But still, that was selective in who I felt comfortable with doing that.
Sure.
More so, like my mother and some of my family. But then when it came to people who I put on a high pedestal of
Mm.
things, I got quiet. So yeah,
Okay. Sounds like a little bit of code switching, which is okay. We'll dig into that. Queen, who is that?
Yes.
Who's having a party? I hear a party. There's somebody having a party in the background. Um, Queen, what's your favorite song to sing at karaoke?
Valerie.
Why?
Well, the upbeat version, the one by Mark
Yeah.
Ronson, because it kind of it gets everyone hype.
Okay. It's for the rest of the room.
Yeah.
It feels good to get the room behind you. You know, when the song's over, Here come the kudos and the high fives and the girl. That's
And
my
it's in a
jam.
certain range that I know I can hit. So
Okay. So that makes you feel comfortable.
yeah,
Okay. Do you not that we haven't had some of these conversations before, but do you find that you are socially anxious?
I think I'm just an anxious person in general.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
always worried about like what's around this corner or who's gonna say something to me and what's gonna happen today. Like it's just always something.
Yeah. And
So,
and you internalize other people's opinions of what you do or did or might do. Like you take that quite seriously.
yeah, and it's not really fair because I don't want to do that,
Yeah.
and I should be able to be in control of my own mind, and it's insane, really crazy that you're like that I'm not in control of my own mind, and it's really crazy.
In terms of like why it matters to you what
Right.
somebody else thinks of, where do you think it comes from?
I think it comes from maybe my childhood. Like I was always put up on a high pedestal. Like I was always like the honor roll student. You know, I was helping out with the family and stuff like that. Even as like in elementary school.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I felt like if I were to drop down from that, everyone would be like, "What is she doing?
Mhm.
Why is she her own thing?" You know?
And that's because everyone else is perfect.
Right.
i'm
Because
just
no one is.
I'm just yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I yeah,
it's,
why?
it's
So you have a hard time shaking off the idea or the perception that you feel like other people do have of you or will have of you.
I mean in the past it was harder to do, but now I see it as like I'm gonna do what I want regardless.
Okay.
So you can say what you want to say, but I'm still
It doesn't
doing what
even.
makes me happy,
Yeah.
like unapologetically. So
Yeah. Are you
I'm
happier?
gonna do it whether you or not.
Right. You happier?
Yeah,
Okay. Is it working?
it is working.
Okay.
So
It was until today when we got on here, and all of a sudden it was like, what do I do? What do I say? I
honestly,
can't do it.
it just took us it took a few minutes, but eventually I'm
And a
just
few
like,
sips.
yeah. But
Okay.
I can do it without the alcohol. The alcohol is just kind of my mind being like, oh, you might need this. I didn't need
Hmm.
it.
You didn't.
It's not a need.
Right. It can help a little bit, but it's not necessary.
Right.
Zany, you've been a
So
performer probably your entire life.
Hey.
Was any of that by choice? It's a real question. Hmm.
Some of it.
Okay.
Some of it.
Some
Probably
of
not
it.
all of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is are they? I guess this is really for the whole crew. Oh, we have a visitor. Jina, who is that?
Yeah, that's Zyla.
Zyla's nosy. Zyla's like, what you doing
Yeah,
over
she
here?
is. She's she's always nosy. She's the first
What kind of
person. She's
what kind of
gonna.
cat is that?
She's she's domestic. That's what mom says. She's a domestic gray cat. There's
Okay.
nothing special about her. But there is something special about her. She's unique. She's weird. Um, she's very intuitive and in tune, and um,
Huh.
I don't know. I think she's my one of my spirit guides. So
I dig that. I can appreciate that 100%. Zane, I'm sorry, you were saying, or
I don't
maybe
know.
I was saying.
You were saying.
Okay, I was saying. We'll just
Yeah.
decide it was me. I was saying.
Well, you literally said, and this is posed to everyone, and then you were gonna ask a question, and then you said someone's being nosy, and then we talked about Zyla.
I already took the blame. Why you gotta like? I took the blame.
Because you took the blame unwillingly, and I just
Nah, if I was unwilling to do it, I'd just been like, nah, it was on you. Like I would have just, I'd have been like, run the tape back. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
anyways.
so okay, so did you ever? You don't feel like you have any, like you're not socially anxious, socially awkward
Oh, I
now.
always am.
Always, all
Oh
the
yes,
time.
always.
Okay.
But I think that this is a really good example of how social anxiety and awkwardness and things like that can manifest differently.
Sure.
Because personally, there are days where, like, if I know I'm getting ready to go to this event or I'm supposed to go do this thing, will feel like if I leave the house, like the world is gonna end. I freak out, I start crying, I can't move. Like it's my bed or nothing. Like that is it. And I mean, I won't say that that's an everyday thing, but there are definitely days where it gets that bad, and there are days where it's, you know, you got to go do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And so, personally, when I get really awkward, I talk too much.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, that's when
You
I
mean
get
specifically in like a social setting?
It depends, but it can be. So like but also if I'm in a situation where I'm with a bunch of people and none of us really know each other, but we're doing something where we're all kind of supposed to be in one group. If everybody's off and nobody's doing that conversation thing that probably should be happening, I will make myself the awkward, upbeat one. So, hey, everybody.
You feel a certain amount of responsibility to try to bring the group together.
Right. If nobody else is going to do it, like I don't, because I have a thing. Part of the reason I don't like to hang out with a lot of people, whether they're my friends or not, is because I feel responsible whether they have a good time, especially if I invited them out. So I don't like if I invite someone over, I'm a very much no, whatever you want to do. Like if we're just hanging out, watching TV, watching a movie, whatever movie you want to put on. People like having me as a passenger. I don't like being a passenger in people's car. I prefer to drive, but people like having me as a passenger because I don't care what you play. I'll have a good time because it's something that you're enjoying, and I want to make sure that you're not awkward and you don't feel responsible for making sure I'm having a good time. Because I don't like being responsible for feeling like other people have to have a good time.
Right.
So
they don't have to play host. You'll play guest host.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
So
where is that? Do you know where that comes from?
You.
I did that?
I think so. I think you're also very good at
host people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So true. I don't have anxiety about it though.
That's okay.
Like, like I want people to have a good time. You know what I mean? And I do. I feel a certain amount of responsibility for like making sure everything's okay and things are running and what kind of help do you need and what do we need to do and whatever, for sure.
Always refer to you as the crowd control.
Well, that's definitely part of who I am.
Like I kind of am the same. Like I recently went back to my high school for a club that I started. They had a showcase. And at first they were like, oh, like you should come perform. Like, and I was like, I would rather you guys have your moment. I don't really want to perform. I don't want to commit to doing that kind of thing. I was like, but if you guys need a host or an MC, or if you just want me to come, I'm happy to do it. And so I ended up hosting their showcase. And the whole time, even though it's not necessarily my responsibility, I'm like, hey, are y'all good? Do you need anything? Are we good on music? Are we good on lighting? Are we good whatever? Do we have any issues? I'll do what I can to figure it out, just to try to alleviate the pressure off of other people, especially because I've been there. Like, I've been the president of that club. I know how sideways our showcases go. It's not one of our showcases unless something goes wrong. So, that's kind of a role that I take on. And I think that part of that is from watching you take on that role as well. So, yeah, I think
you've been probably watching me do it since you were 4 or 5.
Yes.
We would host a lot of parties you probably shouldn't have been at.
Probably
but
not.
Like, I mean, you were always safe.
But having a good time, I think.
And I was always sober, so like, not like, you know what I mean. But yeah, I mean, I again, I don't feel like anxious about that kind of stuff. I just like, I'm just here to do what I got to do. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just kind of very like, let's go forward. Like, if we came to have a good time, let's have a good time. Let's do what we can to have a good time. But I'm also very like watching the room. Like, I read the room. You know what I mean? That's a thing for me. But I also read people. So like, when I see that people are uncomfortable with something's not going on, like, I am the person who will more than likely go say something to them just to kind of break the ice and make it a little less tense. Because I feel like a lot of times, people are uncomfortable, even in settings they've already been in before. Yeah. So it just makes it easier for us to get past it for everyone. If I do that. But I'm not like, I don't have anxiety about stuff like that. Like, I don't wake up in the morning and like, today is going to be a terrible day if I don't, you know what I mean? I'm better off just staying where I am. There are days I just feel like not doing anything.
Yeah. Which is completely different too. Like, it's.
Sure. Do either of you ever feel like that? Do either of you ever wake up in the morning and just be like, you know what, today, can't do it?
Yeah.
Gina, you have those days? Do you ever not do it? Do you ever just, you know what, I'm gonna stay here in my own safe space?
Yeah.
You do that, Queen?
I have definitely in the past, especially with my first year teaching. But now, like, the only time I do it is if I'm actually really sick. So I shed my tear and I keep moving.
Yeah. Sometimes that's sometimes what we have to do. When you have days like that where you shed your tear and you keep moving, how does the day usually turn out for you?
So as soon as I get into I handle my business, what I have to do, and then as soon as I get to the car, I put on my morning song. And it is.
Do you only do the morning song on days like this, or is the morning song for every day regardless?
My morning song is for every day regardless, because I make it a ritual. Like, I make it a daily ritual to do it. And I always say, no matter how I feel, I always say, today was a great day, because I set that expectation and set that tone to manifest. Even if the day wasn't like amazing, it was good or it was okay, I still set that tone. It's the morning song by Anthony Green, his album Let's Start a Band. So
I'm unfamiliar, but I'll check it out. Are there other things? Do you all have like rituals? Do you all have things that you do that like are? Do you Gina? Do you consider that necessary to start your day?
Yeah, and I also do as I'm listening to the song, either I do it during the song or I do it right after. I always say what I'm grateful for. Okay. On the way to work.
That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah.
Do the things you're grateful for ever change?
No.
They do not. You don't add or take away.
No, I think because I do like a run of the mill general type thing. Like I'm grateful for waking up. I'm grateful for having a roof over my head, food, clothes, money. I'm grateful for both my jobs, my boyfriend. Um, I always say I'm grateful for friends and family who truly support me
Mm-hmm.
and only want to see me succeed and see me grow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I am grateful for both my students and my client because even though I'm helping them learn and teaching them things, they always help me learn
Sure.
and teach me either new things or the same old things. My staff and my clients' family and teachers because they help support me in what I need to do. My team, like my team in general at work, both my supervisors because all they want to do is see me succeed and grow professionally, and they believe in me, even though I sometimes don't believe in myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I am grateful for my enemies
Hmm.
because they not only push me to prove them wrong, but prove myself right. Um, I'm grateful for the experiences and opportunities that I've experienced so far, who've shaped me, who I am in this very moment. I always say that. And then I'm grateful and thankful in advance for future blessings or blessings to come, amazing opportunities that are coming. And I say they're already trickling in joy, abundance,
Mm-hmm.
happiness, wealth, all that. So, yep.
So two things. One, I need you to add something to that list. Can you add something to that
Okay.
list for me? I
Yeah.
need you to add you to that list. You need to be grateful for you. You have to be able to say, you have to say to yourself that you're grateful for you. Cuz if you can be grateful for people that want to see you succeed and want to see you do well, and for students and clients, you have to understand that those are people who are grateful for you. They're grateful for what you bring to their life. They're grateful for what you do for them, for what you mean to them. So you have to be grateful for you too, right? It might not always be easy, but being grateful for yourself, I think is one of the most important places to start. It's extremely difficult to truly believe in being grateful for the other things in life if we're not grateful for who we are, for what we do, for what we bring to the table. I know that sometimes that kind of thing can seem self-centered, or even conceited, but the reality of it is, um, even if other people didn't feel it, you should, right? Like you have all of those things, and those people in your life who you do appreciate, they stay for a reason, right? And so you should add yourself to that list, okay? And even if you don't believe it, add yourself to the list until you start to believe it, because I can imagine that there are other things that are on that list that you didn't believe at one time. The second thing is, do you really believe you have enemies? Is that funny? See,
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm so
because nah,
sorry.
like
I apologize.
nah, because like I feel like we all have people who we don't vibe with or necessarily get along, or people who maybe don't want to see us for whatever reason succeed, jealousy or whatever it is, right? But like, do you actually view them as enemies?
At one point, no. But
Okay.
after experiencing my first year teaching, absolutely.
Mm.
I believe that there's people who, and I think I really started paying attention to the way people said things
Mm.
and did things. So if one person sees me struggling, it may not, and they'll say, you know what, it may not just not be the time right now, but one day you're going to be an amazing teacher. You're going to be teacher of the year, and you're going to say thank you to that one person. And I said, no, I don't think so. And other people are saying, you're going to be an amazing teacher. You know, you're good at what you do. You're great. You know, it's your first year, you're learning. And then I hear, she's going to do great. She's going to do great working with kids with special needs. I don't know what that is, but she'll do great. And to me, that means you have no faith in me. Even if I am struggling, you don't believe in me. And and what I experienced, because I'm not gonna hash it out on here because
okay, that's cool. Yeah,
you know, it seemed as though I was preyed on, and my weaknesses were my weaknesses and my vulnerability, and not speaking up for myself, because I speak up for myself with certain people, especially, you know, talking about who I'm comfortable with, but that was preyed on and manipulated by a person who I put on a high pedestal. And so when I started listening to the comments that were said, the things that were said, the way things were done, yeah, I could say that I have enemies. It may not be in the general sense of somebody like, you know, like in the movies, oh, you know, you have an enemy, your arch rival, somebody wants to come and kill you, you know, you're both going at each other. No, people can be,
you have a hater.
Yeah. And and actually, the nice things that people said about me, I didn't see it, but they were like, you should see that person's facial reactions, and just like, now when I go and when I'm around that person, it's totally, the vibe is like totally different. I'm so happy-go-lucky. Hi, how are you? Da, 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 da. Everybody's like, hey, Gina, how are you? And it's like, hey, Gina. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that's how it is. How are you? I'm great. How are you? I'm doing good, thanks. And keeping it. So yeah. When I say I have enemies, it's people who don't want to see me succeed, who don't want to see me grow and thrive, and so
that's fair.
Or have their version of what they expect me to be. If they want me to be miserable and all that, and so,
or they just don't want to see you surpass them. Sometimes that's all it is. It's not necessarily that people don't want to see you do well. They just don't want to see you do better than they are. That's that like crabs in a barrel kind of thing. Like, I don't mind uplifting you, but like, I need to be up pulling you up. I can't be below pushing you up. I gotta be up pulling you up. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're real. They exist. I get that. Queen.
Yes.
You okay?
Yes.
Queen, do you have enemies?
No.
No enemies. That's what I'm talking about. That you know of. Or they just don't matter to you.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's okay. That's cool. All right, well, listen. Here's what I'm gonna. I think we've talked about what I got to say long enough. Now it's time to put the pressure on one of y'all, because we need to move on. I think everybody's kind of comfortable now. Kind of, like, I don't like y'all still look like. I can't believe I'm doing this. Why are you making me do this? Yeah, did this. Hey, listen, I'm gonna tell you straight up. Gina tried to back out. She was like,
I did not.
Oh, you did.
I did not.
You literally.
I said I didn't know how to come up with a topic.
You literally texted me
like,
back like, so there's no getting out of this, huh? Like, hey, listen. Can I tell you something? Like, I'm very much like, I'm like, y'all are family. Like, that's how I do things. Like, we just, you know what I mean? I bring people in who I trust and I have faith in, and I wouldn't have asked you if I didn't think you could handle it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just how I do things. So, you know, I'm not, you know. Hey, Queen, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. What's your topic?
Okay.
Top off. That's what I'm talking about. What you got?
So, being a mixed female
Uh huh.
and
She's
dealing with
like, hey.
racism
Mm-hmm.
on, well, I guess no, just two out of the three sides that I am, like 2 out of 3 things that I'm mixed with. So
Okay.
white, black, and Asian. I don't really deal with racism with Asian, like the Asian community. It's more of the Caucasians and African Americans, because you can be too white to be black and too black to be white, and that's
Sure.
not that.
I'm gonna interject for just a moment.
Okay.
And this is just are you are you around Asian people less? Do
Yeah.
you find that um that people can't tell you're Asian?
Yeah, I usually
And,
get Hispanic. I don't get Asian. So,
okay. So I'm asking just because I know that you're mixed with all three, but I am sure that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily know that or might not pick that out immediately just by looking at you. And so some of what you're talking about and where you're receiving some of this racism from maybe isn't coming from that community because they don't even know you're part of it.
right.
Okay. Okay. I dig it. Continue. I'm sorry.
So, most of it, I haven't dealt with it. Well, yes, I have. I've dealt with it more now than I thought I did, like years ago, like working where I worked and everything. Like, dealing in customer service is just ridiculous. The amount of racism you get is just not, it's not fair, because no one, and I mean no one, asked how you felt about my skin color or what I'm mixed with. No one asked.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole vibe that racism is not, it's just not okay. Like,
Well,
you can I can get called a cracker and then the N-word in like a whole, like in one sentence, and it's supposed to like
yeah,
upset me. Like, people say it just to upset people, and that's not right.
not at all. Do you okay, let me just I don't know how your time is divided in terms of like where you spend your time. Do you feel like you find it coming from one side more than the other? And do you find that any of it is launched at you specifically because you're biracial or triracial, multi ethnic?
I don't want to say specifically, but I think people, like the people that I were hanging with, like the people that I used to hang with, they got a little too comfortable.
Mm.
And the fact that I gave off that vibe that you can get comfortable with me like that is a problem.
Mm. Okay. So
So,
now you circled it back to yourself though.
right. I thought it was me, but it's not me.
Right.
That's what
What
I
do you think? Well, do you think that they were acting that way because you allowed it? Because once you didn't say, hey, that's not okay, you can't say that, or you shouldn't say that, that because you didn't do that, that they were like, oh, it's actually okay for me to behave this way or to say something?
But here's the thing, I've always said something.
Okay.
So that's why when I said like the vibe that I gave off, I would hope they would understand. Hey, if you're that type of person, I don't want you around me.
Right.
So, like, I've experienced it too much throughout my life, and It's not something anyone wants to be around, not just me, but anyone.
Sure.
But and then it not only is it racism, but it's sexism as well.
Sure.
Like the fact, oh, I have my nails done, I can't lift certain things, or hey, I'm a female in general, I can't lift things because I'm weak or I'm weak-minded, and that's not right.
No, it's not right or true.
And then actually be diagnosed with an actual like mental disorder, and then thinking, oh, they're right, like that. That is where you're kind of just like, ooh, all right, and they're not, and that's what it takes a lot to sit there and be like, just because I'm a woman, I can't do this. That's not right. Like, what I've learned is that I have to constantly speak up for myself, and I don't mind doing it.
You shouldn't. You
right.
shouldn't. You shouldn't mind doing it.
I'm gonna constantly speak up for myself, no matter who I lose, no matter if it hurts somebody's feelings, let it hurt somebody's feelings. You like,
Well,
if I feel
yours,
it's
right?
intentional coming to me, then it is what it is.
Is there ever a moment where you feel like some of it is I know how we use the word ignorant and what we say, like what we tend to mean when we say somebody is ignorant, but like, is there ever a time when you feel like it's actual ignorance and that they're saying the kinds of things they're saying because they haven't been checked, and because they haven't been checked, they actually believe the things that they're saying? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like sure, there are some people who say the kinds of things they might say specifically just to hurt people, because some people just need to make themselves feel better, and they generally do that by making other people feel worse. But
yeah, they're bullies. Yeah.
Sure, but in some cases, at least in my experience, right? I have found that in some cases it's actual ignorance as opposed to ignorance, like chosen, like I choose to be this person and I choose to be this way. Sometimes it's just I didn't really realize what I was saying was offensive the way it's offensive, or I say these kinds of things in other circles where you're not there and I'm used to it or whatever, and I didn't really take into consideration what it meant maybe for me to say this around you or to you, and for that matter, whether I should or shouldn't be saying it outside of your presence because I am friends with you. Like, do you ever find that it's actual ignorance and that like maybe having a conversation with them might change something?
I mean, I've actually had that, to where I had to actually have a conversation with that person, like pull them to the side and have a conversation. At I don't think it was a party. It was more like a gathering. But
Sure.
I do believe it was actual ignorance. And I was like, I don't know if you were raised this way, but this is not okay. Like, you shouldn't talk this way. This isn't, the certain things that you're saying aren't nice. But as an adult, I shouldn't have to do that. And,
I mean, to be honest with you, I think as an adult, you might have to do it more. See, because like if you're somebody who came up in a household where you were taught certain things, or whatever, and it got a pass because as a child or as whatever, adults who were there didn't check that behavior or correct that behavior, and maybe even other adults, teachers or somebody else didn't do it right, and you can't necessarily be expected as a child to know or understand how to check that behavior, to say, yo, that's not okay, you shouldn't do that. It's as an adult that you realize that maybe sometimes this is wrong. I think a lot of times we're victims of racism we don't realize we're victims of because we're children, and you know what I mean, we're not old enough to understand it or don't have the context to put it in place. And so as an adult, once you've experienced certain things and you get to a particular place, then you realize, and it can be overwhelming because it can feel very sudden, and it can make you realize all of the things that you've been through in the past that actually were racist or malicious in some way. But it also takes an adult mind to recognize that it might just be that you actually don't know better.
Yeah.
And I also think it takes a very adult mind to be able to / willing to give anyone the benefit of that doubt in that situation. So as an adult, you probably would have to do it more often. I
I've
would
done it
think.
a lot.
Same.
As an adult
I've
or
had
just period?
conversation as an adult. I've had conversations with friends who I mean, I guess let's say the Black Lives Matter, for instance. And so like the whole it's all lives matter, and I'm like, but all lives don't matter. That's the point.
Right. Well,
that, that's
the right. You're right. Exactly. Yes. I want to clean up that statement because yes, all lives matter, but we're not treating all lives like they matter, and that's
Yeah.
what the point is.
yes.
Which is
Yeah.
why we
Yeah.
need
Yes.
to say that
That's
Black Lives Matter.
Right.
yes. And so the whole movement, some of my friends just didn't understand. Even I'm not talking about not just friends that I've grown up with, but like adults who are older than me,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
who, in their ignorance in the right context,
Mm-hmm.
didn't know better or didn't understand and had to be educated. And I don't. When it comes to certain things like that, like I'd rather educate than just leave it alone and be angry and mad at stupidity.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Or at least try to educate.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, of course, I've had to do it a lot. As a child, did I know especially I've had some things. Did I know that I was uh it was racism? Absolutely. At a certain point, yes. Especially
Yeah.
because I was the tall. I was considered tall and dark skin. I mean, there's all skin types, but growing up where I did,
Nah, I was actually gonna
absolutely,
ask if yeah, I was gonna say you were tall.
I was tall.
Okay.
I was tall. I
See,
couldn't. Yeah.
I
I
just
was the tallest one in my classroom, and I couldn't stand it. I mean, yeah,
wow.
if I could get a hold of school pictures,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yep.
So you were tall, you were darker of a darker complexion, and those two things, especially in combination, made you a target. Like it's easy to point you out. Is that
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I've had, yeah, yeah. It made me an easier target. Um,
hmm,
and I never understood why. And my looks, because I grew up with acne and all that, and so yeah. But certain comments that were made, like elementary school, middle school,
yeah.
that I would have never thought that I would hear.
Hmm.
Um, and children are brutal. Let me tell you,
For
children
sure.
have no filter, and they are brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And at that age, they are the most honest.
Yeah.
Um,
About what they think they
but
know.
also, yeah, about what they think they know, but also it's upbringing too. So if
Sure.
it's okay in that household to make comments like that, then it's gonna be they're gonna think it's okay to just treat other people that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're not gonna get in trouble for it. right? Because it's normal in their house, or it's okay in their house, and so they're not. There's no repercussions for being that way, for saying those things, or doing those things. Z, what about you?
I don't. I think for me personally, growing up, I don't necessarily, well, I grew up in a predominantly Black area. So at school, most of my classmates were Black. A lot of them were darker than me. So I don't think I experienced a whole lot of racism in that sense. I think what I'll say I experienced growing up was isolation, because even though I grew up in these areas, I still didn't look like everyone else. I didn't talk like everyone else. And so I was considered white for a lot of growing up. And so I had a lot of friends, you know what I mean? Like the kind of friends you have when you're young and everyone's just classmates. And so you're friends. There are some that I still, have some kind of contact with, some that I don't. So I mostly it was, why do you talk like that? And why don't you know what this means? And why aren't you familiar with this? I just wasn't, you know what I mean? It just wasn't where I came from. But then definitely as I got older, I had a lot of friends that were Asian. And that was where I kind of started to see a little bit of a difference in the way that things were talked about and the kinds of language used. And I was like, but I still wasn't quite there to be able to click like, I don't think that that's for you, actually. Like, you might not, you know what I mean? Like, it still hadn't quite clicked. And I will say probably also the Black Lives Matter movement of 2020 was a really, really big turning point. I was 21 that year. So, again, that in comes adulthood again. And you start to see, like, I know how you act and I know how for the culture you are, but you won't speak up for it when it's time. Right? And I was angry, right? As a lot of us were. Yeah. And I chose, instead of trying to educate and reach out to these people that I didn't even really talk too much anymore anyway, you were gone. You didn't matter. Right. What was a little bit jarring for me, I actually had a conversation kind of similar to this today. I went to dinner with my mom, and my mom's white. So I like talking to her about things like this as well. She's a fairly intelligent individual, but it's still, I was talking about worldview specifically and how ignorance does in fact play a part. I work in a predominantly white area, and I will be ready to take a guest, fully ready, and they will walk to the other register whether no one's there or not, whether they're actually busy or not. You see it with your own two eyes. But what was even more jarring, I think, was when I started to spend more time with the white side of my family, and again having to see, like, or to take note of the fact that you all really just don't see it because you don't have to.
Right.
You can choose not to.
Right.
And that, for me, was kind of one of those moments where I had to sit like this in my chair at any event, like, oh my God, y'all, and I don't know how to make you get it. You know what I mean? Because it's just not something that they'll ever actually personally have to go through in any capacity. You know what I mean? I think I've been fairly fortunate in terms of not having to experience a lot of racism, or at least outwardly. You know what I mean? Sure, there was probably some that I didn't take notice of, or, I think I've been very, very fortunate, and a lot of people aren't. and it's not fair and it's not right. But like, it definitely, over the past couple years, I've become so much more aware of the difference and learning the difference between those who genuinely are ignorant, because, but even still, ignorance, that kind of ignorance is still a choice, I think, in some light.
Absolutely.
Because the knowledge is everywhere.
You're right. However,
it's your choice to seek it out.
It is, but it's also they have the privilege of not having to.
They don't have to.
Of not having to deal with it. Do you? This is for you, Z, and for you, Queen. Do you identify with one side more than the other?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where do you
identify?
Queen. I'm gonna say Black.
Okay. You want to say it or you want to say it?
No, I do, because the two I'm around.
Sure.
I don't see that side of the family. When I did, I was so uncomfortable. And like, I was just kind of like, no, I don't want to be here. Like, that was usually as a child. I knew as a child. I was just like, I don't want to be here. Why am I here? You know, but it was only for like an hour or two. It was like Christmas or something, and you're getting gifts, and just deal with it.
Did it feel less welcoming?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. That reminds me of me growing up with a stepside of the family being all white, and I only speak to my dad's side. Zayna, I'm sorry. The Z Money, I'm sorry for, I know you're supposed to go next.
No, you're fine. Go. Talk about it.
But specific comments come up of I don't see color, and a certain situation come up that I really definitely can't talk about, but
okay.
I can't go into detail of it, but my stepmom would say that, and my brother, very respectfully, I might add, as angry as he was, and how it, as calm as he said it, he said, I want you to see color, because that means that you see me and see who I am, and you acknowledge it, and you accept me for who I am. Saying you don't see color means you're blind, and you're choosing to be blind. And yes, we always felt uncomfortable. We're the only 3 Black people in this group. Granted, my dad can hang on anybody, know, and we can too, because we've grown up in, either a mixed area or more predominantly white areas. But still, it's like we can be ourselves, but then we can't.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, yeah. And then you go too far. They're like, whoa, wait, hold up.
That's a little scary.
It's not just the tiniest AAVE, and all of a sudden it's, what are you talking about? What do you mean by that?
I have certainly experienced levels of racism. I can tell you that when I was dating Zayna's mom, most of the family was cool, but her great grandmother, like if her great grandmother was in the house, I wasn't allowed in the house. Like I had to wait outside. You know what I'm saying? Some of that's just I would tell you that most of that was probably ignorance. When she passed away and we went to her funeral, like her best friend was this black lady. And I was like, what are you talking about? But it turns out that somehow at a much older age, like I want to say she was in her 80s, she made friends with this black woman, and they just became like the best of friends. And like this woman got up and spoke at her funeral, and I was like, who is this and how is this happening? And that actually honestly was one of the things that taught me that a lot of times it's just how you're raised. Like you get raised in a way where you believe the things that the people who you trust are telling you because they're adults, and you trust what they say. You trust what and you don't ever go and figure it out or learn it for yourself because that's what you've been told. That's what you've been taught. And you're not around people to dissuade any of what you heard or what you've been told or what you have learned from people who also don't know what they're talking about. Right. So I had to, and this was certainly not my only like stint with having moments of like having people that I've known for a very long time, or even having people I've known almost my entire life, and realizing that they were like racist though. Like, and here's the thing, good people, great people, as a matter of fact, right? That are or were, racist. I can't speak to specifically what it's like to be mixed, right? I don't have that directly. I mean, I guess we all have it somewhere, you know what I mean, indirectly in some way, right? But it is not the same thing. I think you're right, Queen. Um it's a very strange thing to come to the realization of. Like as a child, as you're growing up, there does actually come a point, like there's a turning point where you really realize, like, wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? Like that thing isn't or wasn't okay. And it's it's jarring because in a lot of cases it does come from people who you know or you trusted or you thought differently. But that also did show me that under a lot of circumstances it is ignorance, not necessarily unlike what Z is talking about, where it's a chosen ignorance, because ignorance is bliss. Sometimes it really just is easier to not be aware so you don't have to feel the effects of what it is. For some people, what their people have done to our people and vice, and whatever, it weighs on them. That happens. Z.
And that's the other thing as well. That was one thing that like I was talking to some other people about. I was with a group of people, and there's this notion that I'll say white people have that, oh, slavery and segregation were so long ago and blah 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 to you. But to me, it was my
It's still
grandparents.
going.
It's
Right.
it's the people I live with. You know what I mean? Like who first-handedly
Felt
went
it.
through that. So like, it's just like the same way I saw this, I want to say it was on TikTok, but this girl, she was like, I don't know about y'all, but I like to talk to my grandparents about their experiences growing up. But I wish that more white people would ask their grandparents what they did growing up,
Mm-hmm.
and what they said and things like that. Like it's just it's such a thing of worldview and the way that you are allowed or not allowed to see the world because of who you are, because of how you grew up, because of how you were raised, whatever it may be. But like it's such an interesting thing to me.
Can I ask you a question? How I've dealt with conversations like these on many occasions.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, when I deal with these kinds of conversations, everyone in the room and or having the conversation looks like us.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're having the conversation with ourselves, amongst ourselves.
Which is not enough.
It doesn't help. It doesn't in any way.
At all. But
yeah,
having tried to have the conversation,
yeah,
it doesn't go over too well.
I think sometimes it depends on who it is.
Yeah.
And the approach to the conversation. I think a lot of times, by all means, go ahead.
Because like when I'm talking to my friends that are like my age who are white, it's a completely different kind of room, right?
Mm-hmm.
People are receptive, they're listening, they're aware of the issues because social media is such a big part of my generation's lives and like what we do. And you almost can't go on social media without seeing some form of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to maybe being at a family gathering and someone says something that's not quite right or not quite appropriate, and I say, hey, let me just tell you why what you just said could possibly be problematic, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like to think of myself as a respectful individual,
but
I also understand that I do have a fairly condescending tone at times.
A lot of times.
Okay. But
if somebody's gonna keep it a buck with you, it might as well be me.
But also I think that in having those conversations with people who are older than me, and me, one, usually being the only minority at the table, two, being the youngest adult at the table, it makes for a very different reception, or is that the right word? For how,
them to receive it.
Yes, for how they are receiving the things that I'm saying. Just because like it's, even if it's coming from me, who is a Black woman and can speak firsthand on, my own accounts, I'm still the youngest adult.
Oh yeah, it's a generational thing.
Like, and it's even with people who are not so far in age, but it's still like you're not. All of a sudden, I'm not.
Still, like you don't have enough life experience.
All of a sudden, I'm not an adult with a drink.
Yes,
my fault. I apologize, but I don't, because what I said is still valid, and you're not listening.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
This is actually for all of you. I would love for you to do this for me right now. Queen, how would you explain white privilege to a white person?
I've tried.
Okay.
I've tried.
I have successfully tried it. I think that's part of the problem. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but when you I'm asking that because when you say they don't ever have to go through it, I feel like in a lot of ways, if you can't put it in terms,
they'll never,
where then they feel it, where then it makes sense to them, then yes, what you're saying is in one ear and out the other, because what they'll do is they will superimpose or supplant their personal experiences with whatever it is you're saying. And the other part of it is that the moment you tell somebody that they said something that is wrong, not necessarily that they said something that is might be viewed as hurtful or harmful, but that something they said is wrong, even if it's because it's hurtful or harmful, people immediately go into defense mode.
Yep.
Right? So now your guard is up. And this is really true about any conversation you're having where you're on opposing sides. Many times the way the conversation is approached and presented, that conversation goes the direction it goes because of defense mode. I hear you, but I'm not really listening because I'm preparing my next argument. I am preparing the next thing I have to say, or I am using my past experiences to overshadow whatever your current experiences might be. So, how do you explain what white privilege means to somebody who has it? Because you're telling them that they have a thing.
Yeah.
It's technically like you're telling it to them like they're wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they go into defense mode. How do you explain that to someone, Queen?
I've actually tried. It's not easy.
But what do you say? What are the words that you choose in order to try to
I say
explain
things
what it means?
like, okay, so things like you were able to do this because of your skin color, and or like pay a job or something. You were able to have that, and I or whoever of a different race has it, who doesn't have that because of their race, and they can prove that. They,
But can you prove that to them, like in the middle of a conversation?
Yes, I actually during we had a staff meeting, and there was actual statistics of these job positions. They were hired up job positions, manager positions, admin, all of that. The percentage, there was a percentage of people of color, and there was a percentage of Caucasians. Caucasians were the highest, and someone said, "Why do you what do you see?" Asking everybody, all mixed races, black, white, Hispanic. We're like, "What do you see?" And everybody's answering, "Oh, these are higher job positions. There's a higher percentage in people who are white than people who are black." Oh, well, why is that? Well, why do you think that is? Someone said, and this is how I knew, this is how I started listening. I was going to tell you, I started paying close attention to the things that people were saying.
This is where she got her
now
enemies
that
from.
Yes.
This is when she determined her enemies.
Right.
Like the things and it's just like people who I respected, who I knew like since I was little growing up, and now at this place, and I'm like, I'm peeping the things that people are saying, and it just doesn't.
Things like well, that's because they're not as qualified, or because they don't have.
No, it's not even that. Well, what if they didn't? What if black people didn't want to be in those positions? And I'm like, and I'm like, what? I don't want to be a principal. I don't want to be in administration. I don't want to be in Congress. I don't want to be in the White House. Are you serious? And I was so proud of one of she was a psychologist. I was so proud. She was like, "Are you kidding me? No, they are literally cockblocked." That's exactly what she said at a staff meeting. That's exactly what she said. She said there is a term where people of color are literally cockblocked from these these opportunities. She was like, "Are you literally serious? You gonna sit there and say that they don't want to be in these higher positions? You think they want to work at McDonald's for the rest of their lives?" Like, I'm like, wow. I literally just sat there.
So the question is, did you believe that those people were raised to believe what came out of their faces? Like, do you think they really believed it? Because I think that's part of the problem, right? Because like it's easy to say, does that even make sense to you? Why would you even let that come out of your face, right? as a very valid question, why would you let that come out of your face unless you actually believe it?
That or
unless
is the
you were
answer
told that
so
your whole life.
Simple and clear, but it's so wrong, right? Like I'm gonna use the word wrong because how easy would it be to just say, "Oh, racism," but then somehow you are now implementing you're implicating yourself. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So like, is it is it ignorance or
Sure.
is it
It's self-preservation.
self-preservation?
It's not having to admit that your race is responsible for doing something. Listen, again, when I talk about like privilege and how you explain to somebody what white privilege is, when you do that and you do it in a way where they have to acknowledge it, you're also kind of taking it away from them.
Yeah.
And like nobody would want to lose that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why would I want to admit that I have an unfair advantage when I can take advantage of that advantage? Like, that's it. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm not. So, this is like, trust me, this is not me giving an excuse to people, right? This is me trying to put a level of understanding into how effective racism really is, right? Because it's not different from sexism. There are people who can't admit that a woman can do the job that they can do better than they can do in a lot of cases, because if they do, they might just have to let somebody else do it. They might have to vacate a position of power. That's like, you have to, like, for all of what we do when we talk about racism, sexism, what they are, why they're in place, why they're in effect, and when we talk about how blind people are and how seemingly impossible it is to be that blind, right? Understand what you're actually asking people to do. By asking people to treat you fairly, you're asking them to give up their unfair advantage.
Yeah.
Wait,
How many
sorry.
people are going to do that?
Fairly or equally? They're two different things.
Not necessarily.
They are. You can treat somebody.
It's the difference
You
between
can
equality
have.
and equity.
Yes,
Sure.
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
But if you listen, if again we're talking about an unfair advantage,
Yeah.
if you treat everyone equally, you're giving up your advantage. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Regardless of it, yeah.
You are admitting that you have an unfair advantage, and therefore you become worse if you now know or admit you have an unfair advantage and still won't let it go.
That makes sense.
Because you wouldn't want to let it go. Most people are not going to simply concede under any circumstances, right? Most people are not going to simply concede that, I have an advantage. There's 5 of us and 3 of you. So yes, I have an advantage. But it's not really unfair because y'all are taller than us. Or whatever whatever the excuse is, right? Like, however it is you weigh it on your end to remove the idea that there are people, like, especially if you personally don't feel like you're at fault for it, right? So like, if you're having a conversation with somebody at your job, and that person is not a person who is quote unquote in power, they're not a congressperson, they're not a billionaire who's helping to make decisions like changing the voting, you know what I'm saying, restriction areas, you know what I mean, like making the decisions about what mortgage rates go here versus go there, right? Like, you're just a person who happens to be on the board playing the game. The fact that you have an unfair advantage, if you admit that, how do you fix that? What do you do, right? If somebody said, you know what, Gina, oh my God, you are right. You guys do want to be the president, and you are smart enough, and you can handle it. What do they do? How do they actually inflict change? Because that's the other issue, right? Because we can talk about it all day. how it feels and what it is and whether it's right and it's wrong. But my thing has always been, and this is like, as my children know, my anybody who's ever worked for me and or worked with me, no, for me, I don't want you to bring me problems. I want you to bring me solutions. And what that means is we can talk about what the problem is, but don't even bother bringing me the problem if you just want me to solve it, right? Bring me the solution. So, how can I be better? How can I do differently? What changes can I actually make? And are you prepared to have that conversation with them and tell them, other than just saying, don't say nigger. You can't say that. Here at this table, while we're all having dinner together for Thanksgiving, and my black ass is here, don't say nigger. It's offensive. Like, no, I'm dead serious. Like, other than saying that, right? What kind of conversation can you have that actually impacts them in a way where they actually begin to see what it is that you see and understand what you actually feel? So when you explain to someone what it means for them to have privilege, you are trying to get them to understand that they have an unfair advantage, not necessarily caused by them, that we want them to give up.
Why do you look like that, yo?
Listen, because for real, if you have these kinds of conversations,
yeah,
without people of other races in the room, the reason why nothing ever happens is because we're only having those discussions with ourselves. And then we get mad, and we get more mad because we all went through it, and we're all like, nobody listens to us. We didn't even invite them to the conversation.
That's true.
And if we do, we want to attack them. It's not all of their fault. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not all of their fault, right? Not everybody, like most people, I honestly do believe that most people want to be good to other people, to all kinds of other people. That still doesn't necessarily mean you're going to give up an advantage that you have, right? That it, like, when you think about how difficult that might actually be, what that actually means that you're saying to them. I don't think a lot of times we realize, for all of the drama and trauma and that we've been through, the things that we've had to deal with, the things that are still ongoing, the perils we have to pass through to buy a house, to get a car, to to go to school, to whatever, like those things that are for us are everyday regular things. Those things that are regular everyday things for them that are easy. How do you ask somebody to give it up? That's a very, very, very real question that I don't think a lot of times when we bring our pain and our anger and our anguish to the table, even when we're talking to someone who is maybe saying something that's ignorant, right, or unfair or hurtful, I don't always think we take into consideration what we're asking them to do and how hard that would probably be for most people. For that matter, if the roles were reversed.
You know, there is, and I don't remember what the song is called, there is an artist who actually made a song, and the whole music video is with the roles reversed.
Joyner Lucas joint.
And it was very,
yep.
It was very eye opening.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly didn't believe what I saw.
Sure.
But I think it's more so having the conversation and sparking that question within themselves. Well, what can I do to help?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not answering it for you. What do you think you can do to help?
Right.
You know, And
Right.
most of the time, people don't realize is all they need to do is use their advantage to help,
Right.
Make the
to help
space.
the community. Yeah, to make that, to create that, to create not just a space, just a safe space. Like
Yeah.
Right.
to be heard and to have those opportunities. And you know, I'll make an example.
Okay.
So I was hired as a this is when I'm not a teacher. I was an assistant, but there's the temporary support assistant and then a para. Para is when you get full-time benefits and all that.
Right.
My brother was picked before me. He had his interview. And of course, because we're known as Michelle Churchill's children,
Mm.
and we've been there, we have a relationship. People thought that it was that my principal hired us as favoritism,
Sure.
and we're gonna go to the board. This is favoritism. Y'all left and then came back, and I'm just like, okay. And then she had to put them in their place. Now, granted, we're totally different vibe with her now, but she's like, I want to show you your interview packet versus his, and you tell me who should have this position, who's better fit
Right.
for this position and for this school and for the students.
Right. I mean, that's one. Technically, that's not their business. But again, and that's not a thing that should happen. But that's a reality, right? In many a case, right? There are times when people are going to believe that there's an unfair advantage, right? And many times when there is one, they're not going to give it up, right? Because they already have it, they already experience it, and some of it is so ingrained that they not like. Well, I mean, okay, right? So if you're just, you know, I don't know, a plumber who somebody has a great conversation with you, and you begin to realize, like, oh man, like, yeah, things haven't necessarily been easy for me. I didn't go to college. I went to trade school, and I learned a trade, and I work really hard, and I do, these things or whatever, and I earned what I have. It's very easy to believe that there wasn't an advantage that you had because when you applied to get a loan from the bank for your mortgage, that you were treated differently than somebody else, right? Just because of what your last name was, or because of what you looked like. Um, and so for somebody like that, who maybe believes that we're like they have it really hard and they're working really hard to try to make ends meet, do things for their kids or raise their family or maintain their house, and they're in the struggle or they live in check to check or whatever, they feel like their plights no different from yours. And you can hear some really, really very, very ignorant things, right? And sometimes those individuals who are in a situation like that, sometimes there are people who don't believe that there's anything wrong like that, and they end up in an interracial relationship and they end up with children, and they don't see it until their kids go through it.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, they don't see it.
Sometimes. It's not always the case.
Sometimes. But I do believe that, and it's not just with racism. It's with anything.
Sure.
It's not a problem. It's not an issue to you until it actually happens to you.
Right. I mean, it's not. It's one. Look, it's one of those things you don't think about, right? Like when I would drive to work, like trying to like explain to somebody, like during like what's going on with George Floyd and like all that kind of stuff, right? Like trying to explain to like my white coworkers, right? What the difference in privilege is, simply because for me to drive 45 minutes to work in the same place they go, the idea that if I get pulled over, there's a chance I don't make it home simply because I'm brown, that's a thing I actually have to think about for 45 minutes to work and home from work every day. That they don't even have to, like, it's when you talk about the kind of stress that you live with, the things that are on your mind that you have to go through. Yep, still got to deal with paying bills and all the same kind of stuff you got to deal with. But then I also have the added issue of I'm also black and male, right? And take on an assumed role by sight, right? That you just don't have to consider. And that is a privilege that just exists. It just exists. It's not like, oh, I get it. Well, how about if I pick you up and bring you to work? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's okay. Yeah, come get me and bring me to work. And if you get pulled over while I'm in your car, chances are I'm going to jail. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm not gonna make it home. You might be fine. Doesn't mean I am, right? Just because. And like you know me well enough to come and pick me up and bring me to work, right? Sometimes you have to explain that to people. I had somebody say to me at my job, and we were talking about like them changing the Redskins name. People are so sensitive now. They're so sensitive. Like, why are we so sensitive about things? What do you mean we? and people just get offended so easily. And I'm gonna tell you what I said to him. That honestly, I actually think like it resonated with him was, so tell me, what's the thing people call you that you're offended by?
Crickets.
I don't know exactly. So like when you say that people are being too sensitive because they got called something, what's the thing you have to be sensitive about? When you belittle somebody else's feelings about what somebody says to them, or if you feel like it's just the name of a football team, it's not that big of a deal, right? Well, what would they have to change the name of the Redskins to for you to be offended by it? You don't have an answer because that thing doesn't exist for you. So you're not in a position to tell other people that they're too sensitive about something someone says to them or about them, directly or indirectly, because that's not a thing that happens to you. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you have the privilege of that not being an issue for you, of not having a name that people call you that's offensive. Like, you know what I mean? That isn't like, oh, you're overweight. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might be offended by that. Like, that's not the same thing. What about your ethnicity or your upbringing or, where you're from or whatever? What would somebody have to say to name a team for you to feel offended? Oh, it doesn't exist. That's a privilege you have that other people don't have. And you know where those names came from? And there you go. And there you go. Queen, you okay?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm just thinking. That's all.
Okay. That's
Like,
fair.
You are so delayed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
A little
looking
bit.
at it.
You're deep in thought.
Yeah.
That's cool. Jina,
Yes.
what's your topic?
So my topic is two parts. I wasn't really hip to the first part until recently. Um, it's Fantastic Beasts,
Mm.
the series. So the first part is this whole controversy with J.K. Rowling and her transphobic comments.
Of which there are a few.
Yeah. So I had to look it up. And my housemate, my boyfriend's brother is transgender male.
Okay.
And he brought the topic up. I was like, wait, what? And I found out about this past week or maybe last week. And of course, you know, everybody's following the whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard case, which goes to my second part that we'll discuss is how the movie was without Johnny Depp. Because, you know, yeah. But
Did you see
so
the movie?
I did see the movie. I saw the movie with my mom.
Okay. Did you enjoy it?
I did. I loved it. But I had issues with Grindelwald. And don't get me wrong, the actor who played him, he's a great actor with the movies that he's been in. Okay. But Johnny Depp just has the vibe, this spirit that he honestly can take on any role you give him, from Rango to Edward Scissorhands to the Mad Hatter. You know,
I almost said something. I'm good. Okay, continue.
What?
Oh, I think you're wrong, but okay, go ahead. Well, no. Actually, you're not wrong. I misspoke. You're not wrong. There is definitely a very specific Johnny Depp vibe. You're totally right. Aura, for sure. They're all the same aura. All of those characters are the same character. Yes, Captain Jack Sparrow and Edward Scissorhands are the same dude.
In different fonts.
The chocolate. Yo, listen. Watch them back to back. Listen. Watch them back.
They're in different fonts.
Yes. Okay, it's like so they're in different fonts.
I would definitely say Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Mad Hatter. I kind of. Yeah. But. Not what was it, the one movie he was in where he with Angelina Jolie?
The Traitor?
I didn't get that.
I think it was The Traitor.
Did you ever see Chocolat?
Yeah, I did once. It was a long time ago.
Wasn't he's in
But Crybaby, I didn't.
Sure.
Crybaby was my movie. Like I have a T-shirt.
Me too.
Okay. I mean, I'm not.
But him as Grindelwald, he was very charismatic, and he just drew you in.
Sure.
To believe as Grindelwald, to believe in his and agree with his beliefs, like the new Grindelwald. I wasn't rocking with him. I didn't feel it.
Okay. I mean, I didn't see it. And I'm gonna be listen, I will just throw this out there. As big of a geek and nerdy guy as I am, I haven't seen any of the Fantastic Beasts films. Not one.
Not one?
Not one. And every time I watch a trailer, I'm like, man, that looks good. And
it's really good. I never thought that I could like a movie outside of Harry Potter. Outside of the original Harry Potter suit. I never thought that I would like a Harry Potter franchise movie outside of the original.
Got you. Like a spinoff.
With Daniel. Yeah. I didn't think I would. I was like, eh. Okay. And then I'm like, wow, okay, is there going to be another movie? And I like the backstory with all of it. Getting to know Dumbledore and who he was at that age. Mm-hmm. And of course, people speculated that he was gay. And I'm like, really? And then certain things that were said in the books, and then you know, which brings me, and I know they're different.
Yeah.
Being transgender and being gay are completely different.
Correct.
But you're making a character in your book,
Community, in the
in that
community.
community, and then you have this. But at the same time, I will say, looking at the post that she made, the original post, people who menstruate, and she's quoting something that was shared, apparently. It says creating more equal post COVID-19, creating a more equal post COVID-19 world for people who menstruate. And I'm like, okay, so what is she commenting on? And then she goes further into saying, I'm sure there's a word used for those people. And one, I can't stand it when people say those people. That just takes it a
What do
step
you
further.
mean, you people?
And then she says, somebody help me out. Wumben, Wimpund, and Woo Mud. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand these terms, these names. I kind of got confused. I was like, where is she going with this? And then people said she took it a step further, saying if sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many meaningful discussions, to many meaningfully discuss their lives. It isn't hate to speak the truth. Now, to me, that comment isn't just for transgenders. It's for people who identify. It's more of the LGBTQIA plus community than just transgender.
It's not just one thing. I don't. I think my biggest issue with it is that the more people seem to call it out or make it known, she seems to lean heavier into it. And that it okay. Having just had a good conversation about like white privilege and like what that is, one of the things that people in positions like that have a tendency to do is they try to take what they view as painful or a struggle for them as counting as much as the other struggle, the thing that you're bringing. So the thing they're bringing up, or the thing that they're talking about, they try to bring that down by taking their position. Like people saying like their rights are being violated because we're asking them to wear a mask. You know what I'm saying? Like those people, like people who are like, you can't make me wear a mask. It's I have a right not to wear a mask. You do. You have a right not to wear a mask in your house. You're right. But anybody can tell you that you have to wear a mask in their establishment. The government can say you have to wear a mask within this establishment for the safety of everyone else. Right? And there are people who will just take that and run with it. I shouldn't have to wear a mask if I don't want to. Sure. But wanting to have a visible real life struggle or issue to have people back you up on the way people actually have the Holocaust or actually have slavery or actually have racism, um, or sexism in whatever form it takes. The people who tend to be at the helm of pushing those kinds of things and those thoughts at the forefront have a tendency to do it by saying, well, what about me? Right? So if it's uh having an equal opportunity for people of all races and colors, and then people saying, well, now there's a certain percentage of black people or people of color that you have to have at this job, and so you're taking jobs from people who earned it or who actually deserve it because you have a quota to fill, you know what I'm saying, or whatever it is, right? And so now we have a struggle. I think in some cases J.K. Rowling is a person who has enough money to just say what she says and feel like it doesn't matter. That's part of what I think it is. The other piece of it is, honestly, believing that people don't have certain rights that apply to everyone else is a whole different ballgame. I don't really, for me, it has just become difficult as a person to support somebody who has views like hers and who sticks to them and stands by them. So I haven't seen the movies and I probably won't ever see them. That's where I am. However, one of the things that comes up a lot in the communities that I am in video gaming and in pop culture and stuff like that, is whether or not, um, if you say choose not to support the new Harry Potter game because of statements that she's making, what about all the other people who worked really, really hard and now their art, their work is now like invalidated because somebody else said something? And where do you fall on that? Right? Because if you do support it, well, in some way you are still paying this person who says these things or believes these things or feels these things. And I think a poignant question is whether or not her art is less good now because of what her views are. Is it still okay to be a Harry Potter fan? Is a thing that you grew up with and loved for a decade or more now invalidated somehow? Do you or should you feel bad about buying the books? About buying the movies, having bought the movies, about repurchasing them digitally because who's got a DVD player anymore? You know what I mean, or whatever it is. What do you where I mean, what do you think? Huh? mm.
I don't. I don't. I guess in with the way you put it, I. What about thinking about the other people who work so hard? Um, that's. It's just crazy and it's mind blowing how it takes only one person now, because before it didn't. You didn't have it. You I mean, you had internet, but you didn't have social media like that. You didn't have people. I mean, this cancel culture thing is like
It's real.
it's for real, like serious, and it only takes, and who knows, this could this could be this could be ignorance
Mm-hmm.
in the wrong context, and this could be ignorance in the right context, that she's not well educated and it doesn't know and doesn't understand, or maybe the people that the problem that people have in putting their opinions out on social media is it's not always put out correctly in their
Sure.
thought process.
You only get 240 characters, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of people have, I mean, I'm not making excuses, by all means I'm not making
Sure.
excuses, but a lot of people have a hard time of communicating what they actually mean.
Sure.
And like I sometimes have a hard time communicating what I actually mean, like what I'm actually feeling, and it comes out wrong, you know.
Yeah.
But to just not, it's a mix, because I have family members who are of the trans community, and I stand by them wholeheartedly.
Sure.
But like the hard work that other people have done because of her stupidity
Mm-hmm.
and her ignorance and
Mm-hmm.
being uneducated, and apparently she's also researched and done homework on trans issues for her work specifically, for her characters, like for her for her work. And it's just like I don't know, this is it's hard because I would never want to take away, it's like one person taking away from the hard work that everybody's done, the actors, the artists,
All the way down to the best boy
like
grit. Like
yeah,
yeah. I mean, that's a real thing, right? Like when HBO Max put out the like Harry Potter reunion, um, like a month, 2 months ago, whatever it was, like I did watch it. I thought about not watching it, but it was like, well, I done already paid HBO Max, so like it's paid for. You know what I'm saying, right? And I don't know what that means. Like when you do something like that, because of the way things work and the way that like royalties get paid or whatever, is she getting paid by the stream? Does she make more money if people watch it? Like I don't know, but at the same time, it's like
That's a
I
good
kind of like
movie.
Daniel Radcliffe. You know what I'm saying? Like I kind of want to see
yeah,
what he's doing, and I want to see them get back together. I did more or less watch them grow up. You know what I mean? And it's gonna be kind of cool to see them, you know. And she was in it, you know, and it was like, your face, you know what I mean? It just it's a
wait,
real thing.
she was in, I didn't see her in it. I was told she wasn't there specifically.
I think there was just like I feel like, and I listen, maybe I made it up. I don't think I made it up. Like I'm pretty sure she had like one moment like where she talked about something, some piece of it. Like she wasn't in a lot. It was like extremely minor. I'm almost positive she talked with Daniel Radcliffe. See, now I would have to go back and watch it again, which I won't do.
Yeah.
But look,
that's like Johnny Depp and Aquaman. You know how many people want to boycott Aquaman and not even watch it because of Amber Heard?
Because of Amber Heard.
And now that and like now that's like people not even want to watch Pirates of the Caribbean, not even want to watch stuff with Disney Plus. And people are like, it's sad that my toddler loves shows on Disney Plus because I boycotted because of Johnny Depp. And it's just like now that their name is being brought into court, they want him back.
Well, because the truth is starting to actually come out, and things are changing, and people are flip flopping. That's the thing. Like when you don't actually know anything, like when the media puts something out and it says, "Well, this person is suing this person for this thing," or "This person said this person did this thing," people immediately form their own opinions and decide, what it is with literally no context other than what you're given, which to an extent is fair, but I've always personally tried to be more objective than that. You know what I'm saying? And just like, well, we don't know if so and so actually did it. Somebody's going to sit down in a courtroom and they're going to hear all the evidence, at least whatever they allow to be presented, because just because that happens doesn't mean all the evidence gets put in front of you. That still doesn't mean that it went down the way that it was decided when a jury gets done with it. Trust me. I spent a lot of time studying what it means and how the law works, and it's really just a game. A judge is a referee, and we're going to do everything we can to suppress evidence and to keep things away and to keep you from getting, because I just want to win. I might know they did it. I just want to win. It's my job. I'm getting paid to win this. I'm getting paid to suppress this evidence. I'm getting paid to hide the truth. Like, that's people's jobs, and it's not a science, and that's why people practice law. That's why people practice medicine. Because it's not the same all the time in every instance. It doesn't always work the same. This medication for this thing doesn't work on all people. You may experience side effects like anal leakage or whatever it is, right? They should be like, here's the thing. Listen, it's not safe a lot of times, but it might be safe for you. So you can try it, and if you have these things, stop taking it and call a doctor immediately, because you might die. Like, there's literally stuff out there. You might die. But for the most part, you can take this, and it'll make you feel better. Like, that's what those things are. Law is no different. And that's media in and of itself. So one thing about media and about social media is that the media's ability to put spin on something doesn't really mean anything when J.K. Rowling has control of her own Twitter account and puts on her Twitter the things she wants people to read. So if you didn't form it right, or you should have thought about it more, or whatever, that's on you. It is. And you can go into defense mode, or you can say, listen, what I said wasn't taken out of context because I said it. However, that's not the way I meant it. I apologize. This is what I meant, or this is how I felt. It's different when you double down on it, triple down on it, and then quadruple down on it. Like, oh. Because even for me, like when I first heard, I was like, people are probably making it a bigger deal than it really is, right?
That first tweet saying for people who menstruate can in some ways encompass the trans community, no?
Mm-hmm.
Which is why, like, because I stopped following it. I'll be honest. I was like, okay.
I thought maybe you could read it again. I thought she said naturally.
No.
Okay.
So
okay.
it's a post she shared. And she said, it says opinion, creating a more equal post-COVID-19 world for people who menstruate. I don't even know what this is. It says dvex.com. I don't even know what this is. So what implications does COVID-19 have on the global menstrual health and hygiene agenda? WASH and health experts explain.
So like the whole thing.
So that's
so what?
Yeah, she's sharing a post, which I don't understand. But
I'm so confused.
So she's quoting that.
Right.
That's not her words. She's quoting that. People who menstruate.
Right.
And then she goes to say, I'm sure there used to be a word for those people. Someone help me out. Wumben. And I don't know if this is
that's
and don't like I've never heard these terms.
If I mean, I'm not 100% well versed on terminology and things like that. I do my best to be the best member and ally of the community as I can.
Sure.
If I'm not mistaken, though, there are terms used for cis women.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to make a wrong statement here, but I think that might be what she's trying to refer to. So then in that case, then it would be like natural menstruation, right? Like that's what
Right.
she would,
Like
but
the
even
quoting.
still but then I just think that
But okay, so
what is she
and
talking about?
that's what
What are you talking about?
that's what I'm
Because
saying.
trans
And I think
men
that's
would technically naturally menstruate. Like what are you talking about, sis? Get it together. Get it together.
Yeah, I believe that the quotations used, right, was almost like air quoting, like people who menstruate, right? Like is a way of saying like this doesn't apply to everyone, or it only applies to
Certain
these
individuals.
people.
Mm.
Like, and look, when it comes um to trans rights, there are a lot of brand new issues that exist based on it. What bathroom is or isn't okay to be used, whether or not someone who has made the transition and is now a woman can be a feminist, right? Or like fight for women's rights in the workplace, or you know what I mean? And like it there are even some things that are echoed in racism where it's like, I mean, yeah, you can use your privilege to help fight for certain things for us, but you still not one of us. So you don't, you know what I mean? So that does mean that there are certain things that are still off limits. Like you can't say this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or you can't do this. There are still certain things that like it does muddy the waters in a lot of cases, for lack of a better way of saying it. I will give you an example. A few weeks back, there was a big hullabaloo about like a national women's swimming championship, and the woman who won is a transgender woman, and that person went from being ranked like 400 and something in men's swimming to winning the championship and being ranked number 1 in women's swimming. And people were like, that's not fair, because there are things about this woman that don't match what the other women, like that person has an unfair advantage. They have created an advantage for themselves, regardless of what you think or why that person chose to make their transition. In a situation like that, there will always be people who will argue that that person made that transition so that they could get something out of it, and that it is
But there's
taking
another
something
thing.
away from other people.
Due to having family that are undergoing the transition, that's a hard process.
Sure.
That's a serious hard mental hard process. Like
Sure.
there's steps you have to take. Just like with certain surgeries that people have to undergo, there's certain mental, like people get gastric bypass. They have to undergo a whole like psychiatric like thing. They have to go to therapy. They have to do certain things. It's the same. It's the same thing. That's a hard process. So, in my opinion, why would I want to put myself through that? I'm sorry. Therapists and psychiatrists can smell bullshit from a mile away.
Sure.
They
Some of them
can.
can. I'll tell you right now, that's not. I can tell you right now, that's not always the case. I can speak from experience about people who have been um, put into, let's say, an institutional position against their will, but necessarily who just happen to be people who are smart enough to say the things that need to be said for them to get out,
Mhm.
and then continue the behavior that got them put in there in the first. As a matter of fact, for it to be worse, I've seen it firsthand. Um, Therapists are just people. Either you can read people or you can't. Just because you study things in school and you have a certain understanding of the psyche doesn't necessarily mean that you're great at reading people and understanding people. You know what I mean? Like, there are people who get paid to be able to look at a person and tell if they're lying because they looked a specific direction when they were doing it. If you're a person who is a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a therapist and you haven't been trained in how to read whether someone's lying to you or not, you're just like everybody else. Don't mean nothing. Not, it doesn't mean anything. You worked really hard and you got a degree. I'm not taking that from you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make it seem like you. I didn't mean to take that away, like, for real. I just meant that there is more to it, and there are people who are naturally good at it, and there are people who can study it and can learn it, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be 100% or that you're always going to have it. And there are always going to be people who are better liars than the people whose job it is to tell if they're lying. Just like everything else.
The same classes sometimes.
Right.
They're learning
Like,
the same tricks.
There are people who get an A easy, and there are people who work really hard to get that A. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just, and maybe the person who worked really hard would have gotten better than an A if they could score higher than that, right? Better than the person who just got an easy A. Like, that's just not how things work. Now, realistically, does that mean that somebody who, look, we've had a lot of conversations about today, in the last like 2 hours, about people doing things that just seem like, why would you do that? Why would you be that way? What? You can't quantify what a person's thought process is when they decide that they're willing to go through something that seems as trivial as, like, why would you do that just so you could win a championship? But what does that mean for them in the long run? Does that give them a shot at the Olympics? Does it mean that they get a gold medal? Do they just want the attention? Is it worth it for them for that reason to get the attention? Is it, did they really always feel like they belonged better that, and that's who they really were, or that's who they really are? But I also just love swimming and I love competing. And is it fair for them to compete with other people who are women? How do you make that decision or distinction? When it comes to something like whether or not, I mean, look, again, there are people who will make a decision like, oh, so-and-so is gay, so I won't watch their movies, or I won't buy their work, or I won't do, whatever. It can be the other way around, right? Like, I'm not, as much as I love to support the hardworking people in industry who put their time and effort and sweat equity into making something that we all enjoy and or love, it's harder for me to just be like, man, I know she said those terrible things, but I really got to see this movie because it's part of my fandom. I got enough fandoms that I could just let it go. I can just give it up. Like, I have 2 pair of Harry Potter shoes. I got a Slytherin set and I got a Gryffindor set, and that's because I can't choose a house, and I'm not letting the hat choose for me. So I have a day house and a night house, and I believe that I have the right. Gryffindor is my day house and Slytherin is my night house. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? I get to choose that because I can, because it's up to me. I bought the shoes. I wear the shoes. I like them. I like what they look like. She don't really have nothing to do with K-Swiss. You know what I'm saying? Still, somebody worked really hard on that design and put it together and gets paid for every one that's designed or put up or whatever. Like she, I'm sure, isn't the person who designed the Gryffindor banner, the Slytherin banner that is on somebody's shirt or whatever, but that doesn't mean she's not getting paid for it because she owns the property outright. And she certainly went by a surname for some of the other properties that she's come up with since Harry Potter. Maybe because it was just easier to hide behind something else. You know what I mean? I hope somewhere along the lines, this is how I feel about her personally, is I hope somewhere along the lines, somebody actually has a really good sit down conversation with her to help her understand. Because for somebody like her, what I see when I see those kinds of things, or when I deal with somebody like her, what I see is that they're on defense and they want somebody to understand them. They want somebody to understand their position, and they want somebody to see their position as valid. My position is valid because if we let people just come in, then all the work that I've done as a feminist to fight for equality and whatever for women is taken away or is belittled or something in some manner. Queen, do you have a look? I don't know. I just like Harry Potter.
I think I've only seen like 3 of those movies, and I didn't even know about that at all.
Yeah.
Like,
Does it make you
I
feel
didn't know
different?
that until recently.
Huh?
She said it didn't happen until recently, which is, I mean, it's been within a couple years, but like, does it sway you at all? Like, does it matter to you one way or the other? Would you, if you were thinking about watching Harry Potter stuff or whatever, does it sway you one way or the other?
I mean, not really.
Okay.
But I guess
Let me ask
it's
you a
because
question.
I wasn't really into it at first.
Sure.
So
If what she had said was racist,
Hmm.
I mean,
See,
it's not right either. No,
okay.
what I'm hearing that she said was wrong. It was just straight up wrong. So, but the people, like what you guys are saying, the people that put their hard work into like the movies or like the shoes or merchandise or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
we should still be able to support them without supporting her.
Yeah, I don't know that you can separate the two though. You know, like I
Yeah,
think in a lot of
I was
ways,
thinking
right?
about that when I was trying to. I was thinking about that.
There's a lot of people who I think were more than anything really hurt because they are a part of the trans community and as just a part of the LGBTQIA plus. Like if you're a member of the community, you're a member of the community, and man, so many of the people in that community love Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
And for a long time have loved and looked up to J.K. Rowling. Have found that stories that were told in Harry Potter mirror their own in some way, even if it's from a race perspective of like, you know, we just talked about people being mixed and racism, and you know, Hermione's a mud blood, you know, or whatever, right? Like there were stories of people being treated unfairly and like, no, but this person is just as good as, and that, you know what I mean? Like all those things that exist, and a lot of people I feel like more than anything felt betrayed. That a trust they had, someone they looked up to, someone they thought, if anything, would be on their side, right? When it comes to like, if there was going to be a fight and there was going to be somebody who was in a position of power, was in a position of privilege that could stand up and say, no, this is wrong, or we need to do this, or whatever, like they would be on their side. And I think to have that happen is just such a detrimental blow to their feelings, you know? And I think they're within their rights to feel that way. I think they're right to feel that way. Um, so I think it's hard to. I like Harry Potter. I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan. I like Harry Potter. Um, it
I love
probably
Harry Potter.
matters to me less. I know. You're
Like my mother would read us, like by the fireside, read us Harry Potter.
sure.
Like, and so hearing this and like reading, like hearing about it, and I'm like, whoa, wait, what? And then like now actually like looking at these comments, and of course she got into the defense mode to double
Right.
down on what she's trying to say, but still, an apology should have been said first, and then
And she
this
didn't.
is where I'm. And she didn't,
There was
and
Right.
like,
an
and then
apology
say
to this day.
And it ain't coming.
no, and then
No.
say, you know, I just, it's like saying saying a racist comment, or that's teetering
Mm-hmm.
back and forth, and then someone says, well, I love black people, I have a black friend, and I'm like, but would you say this around or two?
And they might.
um
And they might, because somebody might not feel comfortable enough to say to them, yeah, you can't say that. I'm just saying. It
yeah,
it it,
I
it, it
just,
happens. Okay.
yeah,
Okay. You still like Fantastic Beasts though.
I love Fantastic Beasts. It was a phenomenal movie. And it's gonna be more series, and that's like the whole like
Mm-hmm.
mind blowing thing. Is there gonna be more? Are there are and of course Hollywood's Hollywood. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if you don't know how Hollywood is, Hollywood is. I mean, some actors have come all out with how Hollywood is, and how they don't. It's dark. It's a dark place. It's not. It's not a happy
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
Um. So, but with this whole cancel culture thing, I I don't know. This future of Harry Potter is like looking bleak. Uh, and especially if she hasn't said anything. And some people don't. Sometimes it takes people a while to realize and really sit back and reflect and look at themselves, and because they're so stuck in their ways,
Sure.
in their own beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
um instead of looking at the bigger picture and letting go of like limiting beliefs that actually make them to actually help them be a better person. And it's just like, I don't know. I don't know. Some people have to, you know, hit rock bottom, or just really reflect in order to understand. And maybe she's just not there yet. But
If it happened, if people were boycotting and not buying and not supporting or whatever, and then she apologized, would anybody believe it?
no,
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you can't, when you don't make that U-turn immediately, that's because you're going down the road you want to go down. That's that's what I believe. You know what I mean? And so, like, here's what I'll tell you. I won't take away from the art, right? Like, Harry Potter is a great thing. They're great stories. The movies are great movies. The actors and actresses that have put the time and effort in, the editors and composers and like everybody who put their hands on it. I didn't read the books. I don't read books. If they don't have pictures in them, I'm not reading it. And it feels like the Bible. Like if it doesn't have pictures in it, I'm not reading it. And
there's a comic book version of a Bible too.
Yeah, and that feels. Not all comic books are good. I just want you to know that. I want you to know that. I like comic books, but I don't like all comic books because Batman's not really a superhero. He's just a glorified police officer. Anyway,
that hurt my soul.
I just want you to
only because it's true.
I want to be here the day you have this conversation.
I've had this discussion many times on Weekly.
No, no, on here.
Oh, you want to be on it?
I want to hear it firsthand. I just want to hear it firsthand when you have
that's so doable. Oh yeah, that's cool. You know what? Maybe in a couple weeks.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm down because I don't have any problem. I'll double down on Batman. That's not a problem for me. Because Slim's just a guy. Like I don't know what they're trying to do. Anyway, because I'm getting ready to just take off on Slim. I'm good. I'm good for that. I don't want to take anything away from the art. I think that what was created is phenomenal, and I think what was created is great for a lot of people. I do. I really do. I think there are lessons to be learned there. I think there's a great time to be had there. I think that if we get to a point where like theme parks have to start being like, we kind of have to get rid of all these millions and millions of dollars worth of rides and stuff that we did because we can't really support her, or whatever. Like, I think that, could it go there? Sure. Is it gonna? Probably not. Right? They're going to double down. Like, we have the license and we're going to keep going because people are going to keep coming. They're going to keep paying for it. And, I don't know if you've been, but I've been. Them rides, that it's fantastical there. Like, it's Diagon Alley in that joint, bro. Listen,
I've always wanted to go.
That joint is the truth. When I go now, also, man, that ride is one of the best rides I've ever been on in my entire life. I won't take anything away from that, from the people who were so creative. You know what I'm saying? And whatever. Are they getting anything else from me? Probably not. Probably not. Because for the most part now, if you choose to work in that realm, you already know what's up. For anybody who, previously put time and effort into it, like, I know that there are things that are being created right now as these statements are hitting, and I kind of feel bad, and I might support those things. Like, there's a really big deal, like a Harry Potter game that's coming out that looks phenomenal, and I really want to play it. And so I probably will. Because I know that it was in production prior to these things being said. And now I'm watching people have to, like, really work hard on the marketing and the spin and whatever to try to show that they're doing it out of the love that they have for it because they grew up with it or they really cared about it, and it ain't about her. Z Money.
What up?
What you want to talk about? We'll make it quick.
I know that I told you I was going to talk about one thing.
Okay.
But now we're going to talk about rabbit holes.
Oh, all right. I thought you were going to say Batman. I'd be like, let me go.
No, we're not talking about Batman. You are going to have to bring the Batman topic to the table.
Sure, no problem.
I would like to talk about everything this show is a rabbit hole.
This show?
I think it constitutes.
Sure, okay. Nah, I just was making sure that I understood the clarification. Yeah. When you said this show, you mean this show we're doing right now.
Good Conversations and Shenanigans.
Let's do
a rabbit hole.
Okay.
So originally, I was going to talk about how I don't ever finish anything. I have periods of obsession, and then I just bye. It happens very often. I don't know what the issue is. I don't know if it's my attention span or what, but I like for shows, for example, like I will binge a show incredibly.
Yeah.
Until I just don't. And it's the worst because I'll get to like the last season or the last couple seasons where it's going to wrap up and you're fine anyway. Maybe I'm scared of the ending. I don't know.
Yep.
But rabbit holes.
Hmm.
Are they never ending? Right? Do you fall into a rabbit hole when you get so sucked into something that it becomes like you never stop? Or are rabbit holes quick things that fizzle out? Where do we stand? I need to know. Because I, for one,
Okay.
think that the rabbit hole is a temporary thing. Now, whether you stay where you end up is up to you. But that whirlwind sensation of just jumping into something, I just started Attack on Titan. I can't wait to get back to it. I'm almost done with season 1. I know I'm late. Nobody say anything.
Okay.
I have to do things in my own time, but I can't stop. It's like this.
Right. But is Attack on Titan the rabbit hole? Or is anime the rabbit
Attack
hole?
on Titan. Because I've gotten into rabbit holes with other anime. I've gotten to
I may have it may be, I'm sorry, it may be anime. It may be anime. That's the rabbit hole. Because if you're picking specific shows to binge and you have that sensation, it's not that show. It's just a new anime show in general. It's that new, like.
I like you, Jina.
So am I in the rabbit hole and now I'm just going through different tunnels?
Sure.
Yes.
I honestly believe that the rabbit hole, in a way, is never ending. You can be in a rabbit hole. Like we had a brief conversation earlier, and it was like, you get on TikTok and you're like, I'm gonna watch this one joint, and the next thing you know, you've been on that joint for like an hour, and you're like, how did I just lose an hour? Right? And as much as you know, all right, I gotta get out of this, I have to stop, and you do stop because I'm supposed to be asleep, or I'm supposed to be editing something, or I'm supposed to be playing a game, or working on something, or reading something. You then go back to TikTok the next day or later on that day. And before you know it, you're like, man, I love prison TikTok. I don't know how I got on it, but I'm on it.
TikTok is quite a place to be.
And you know what? You only know it because you went down the rabbit hole.
You might be right. But prison TikTok, they're funny.
I'm not saying they
They're
not.
really funny.
I'm not saying they don't deserve your time and rabbit hole attention.
Because okay, if we're like, all right, let's Alice in Wonderland this, right?
Okay.
Now, I love Alice in Wonderland.
Okay.
However, it has been a little while since I watched the original cartoon version.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually, you know what? Scratch that. Do you guys remember in Labyrinth when she fell down the hole and then she got grabbed?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? So
Queen,
like,
you never seen Labyrinth?
oh my God, it's a fantastic movie. You should watch it. It's so good. It's the best movie in the world.
And so's Dark Crystal.
Dark Crystal, Labyrinth.
My boyfriend got me hip to that.
Like,
for real?
Yeah.
Shout out.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Gabe. Shout out. Get hip.
The whole it's like a trifecta. The Labyrinth, Dark Crystal. I'll put the Neverending Story there personally.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
I've never seen a Neverending Story.
Oh, we gonna fix that.
I plan on seeing it. Okay.
Today.
Say my name.
Bruh, what? Artex. Come for me, Gamork. I am a trail. Hey, bro, them joints. Woo!
So
That's a good movie. Okay.
But like
Queen's like taking those, like, I gotta watch
this one.
Labyrinth.
All right, it's got a rabbit in it.
Doing it right
Or
now.
like
now,
Alex,
quick opinion. I've never seen the TV series on Netflix. Is it something because I'm probably gonna watch it soon, but when I have time to actually binge, should she watch the TV series first and then
The Dark Crystal?
Because it's a prequel.
I actually didn't watch the TV series.
Nope. Don't do it. Like the I'm gonna tell you that the
Don't
Not
watch
TV.
right. Listen, the only reason why the prequel series is good is because you already know the movie's good, and so it's just like, let me see what was going on. Like realistically, nah, I don't. Those are not joints you need to watch in order. Don't watch. If you watch the movie and you enjoy the movie, you can never see the series and be perfectly okay. But if you watch the series first, you might feel like you should not watch the movie, and I don't want that for you.
Yeah.
Watch the movie first. Yeah. Some things are prequels that belong as prequels because they're also so far apart from each other in terms of like the Dark Crystal is an 80s movie, and the new joints are from like a year ago, like 2 years ago.
It's different.
It's different.
Mm-hmm. I started it and I was like, I just feel like this is gonna taint everything I know about this film.
I felt like it was gonna take too long. That's all. I like Augur though, but okay. I'm sorry. Okay, rabbit hole.
A rabbit hole. No,
what we just did. Yes,
right. So, but like also if you take like Alice in Wonderland where she had those moments where she kind of slowed down, is that like when you get off TikTok and then when you get back on, you're falling again?
Sure. Like you choose the rabbit hole again. Like you listen, every time you open TikTok, you know there's a chance you're gonna end up down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Listen, it's not just TikTok. It's Instagram. You start scrolling. It's
Twitter.
It's what I refer to as scroll culture. Twitter's the same way, right? Like you just look, and then it's like somebody says something, you be like, for real? And then you click to see,
and then there's a thread,
all the replies, and you looking, and it's like even something you're not gonna reply to it, you're not gonna say nothing, but you forming opinions, but you're not actually gonna do nothing with it. You're just absorbing additional knowledge.
Someone who has been ratioed on Twitter, I'll never say anything on Twitter again. Oh my God. That was insane. Just do not have an opinion if you're on Stan Twitter. Let me just tell you that right now, okay?
See?
Just don't.
And again, that's a different kind of rabbit hole, right? Like, do you like, generally speaking, right? The rabbit hole is something that's like, for a lot of people, they think about the instant rabbit hole. Like, I'm in this moment right now, right? So I've been on Instagram. I jumped on Instagram to check something. And before I knew it, it was 20 minutes later. Before I knew it, it was an hour later. I just kept scrolling, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, right? That's that instant rabbit hole. Sometimes, though, the rabbit hole is almost permanent. Why? Because you don't want me to say K-pop? K-pop. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like sometimes the rabbit hole is about introducing you to or showing you things that you like.
It's forever.
And then you keep tumbling and you keep tumbling and you keep tumbling because, like the way rabbits multiply, you just keep having more babies of that thing. Like there's more there. Like there was TikTok and it was like, oh, I like dances.
TikTok comment section is a rabbit hole in and of itself.
Of course,
on any video.
Realistically, though, comment sections are a rabbit hole on almost anything if you dare venture.
It's exactly why I have never gotten into Reddit. I refuse to ever go on Reddit.
See?
Because that's a rabbit hole. That's a rabbit hole for my boyfriend.
Because
Reddit?
I know that I wake up and
literally
he falls
asleep like this. He falls asleep. Reddit is his bedtime story. Okay.
I'm telling you, because I'll wake up and all of a sudden I'll know every single conspiracy theory that has ever happened in the past.
You'll never be the same.
I won't, and I can't handle that. My brain is fragile. My mind is truly fragile. Okay.
Nah, your mind is built to absorb things.
My mind is built to believe we're in the Matrix. I am fragile. Okay. I don't want to be here.
Don't go on Reddit.
Don't go on
Reddit. Don't go on Reddit.
And don't watch The Matrix. Got that?
Oh, I did.
Oh no!
Why? Watch it.
No,
I loved it.
Don't.
It was a little bit, stretched. It was a little bit stretched out because that their whole love story thing, but
I believe I have only ever seen the first one, and I'll never watch the other ones. That I've seen the first Matrix and the Animatrix. The Animatrix, I'm all for. I love it.
It's good stuff.
But I will not.
It's just because the Matrix is a rabbit hole she doesn't want to go into because now she can't tell if this is real or not. Gina, are we in simulation?
I don't know. We could be. I mean,
We are.
Exactly.
Is the you in the mirror you, or is it an alternate dimension you? Is it a parallel universe?
What about my higher self?
Oh, see? Who knows? You see what I'm saying?
Wait. Let me just make sure I understood that. Did you say your higher self or your high self?
My higher self.
Because your high self could also just be you from another dimension. Like, who knows, right? Like, again, rabbit hole, right? Like, that's just if.
But that's what they make movies for, to tell you the truth.
Rabbit holes are the most.
Is that why the Matrix exists? So that you would know the truth?
That's the only way. It makes you not think that it's possible, but it really is.
Have you seen Men in Black?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I believe that locker, them marbles.
The marbles in the locker?
The marbles blew my mind.
Technically, Men in Black is like the first Matrix.
Yeah.
You
don't know what we're talking about, huh, Z? Don't watch it.
Listen,
really?
It's been a while, so I'm like,
you have to watch.
It's
the
at
universe.
The very
you
end,
have to watch Men in Black universe clips. That's all you got to search.
Oh yeah,
Men in Black universe clips. And watch them all.
That's a rabbit hole.
Feel the tears prickling my eyes. I am teary-eyed. I'm trying to tell y'all, I don't believe anything is real.
Well, listen, can I tell you something though?
Yes.
Realistically, does it matter?
No, and that's what's worse.
It doesn't hurt any less or any more. It just is what it is. So if it's like when we talked about the Matrix, like on Loading Snacks, for me it was like, all right, look, if people in the Matrix, if you have no idea, like if you thought to yourself, like think about when Cypher wanted to go back into the Matrix, he's like, man, just put me back in. But this time, I want to be rich and I want to be important, right? And it was like, yeah, inside the Matrix, it'll make you wonder. Like you sit there wondering your whole life, like, what did I do wrong? Or how did I go? What did I just make that left turn that day instead of the right turn that day? And that's why I didn't end up famous, or why I didn't get a movie deal or whatever it is, right? Is it just something that happened to me, right? And if it's just a simulation, then why is that the case? And the Matrix explains it by saying to you, like they straight up said, like the first Matrix, we made it perfect. And humans' minds wouldn't accept it because they couldn't accept that a peaceful reality was actually real. So there had to be a certain level of chaos in order for the human mind to accept it. And I was like, yeah, but like if you get out of the Matrix into what is quote unquote the real world, then you still would be like, why is Neo the chosen one? And I'm not the chosen one. How come I don't have my own Nebuchadnezzar? Why does Morpheus get a ship? And I'm just on the ship with him. Like the things that you would be concerned about or that you think about with inside the Matrix are still the same kinds of things that would plague you mentally outside of the Matrix. So it doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to tell you right now. If I got out of the Matrix and nothing tastes like chicken anymore, we're going to have a problem.
What? Huh?
No, listen. What's your favorite drink?
My favorite drink?
Yeah. Alcoholic, I don't care what it is. What's your favorite one?
Apple juice.
Okay, apple juice is your favorite drink.
God, I love apple
But
juice.
in the Matrix, once you get out of the Matrix, nothing has flavor.
So I'll never taste apple juice again?
No! Just be happy in the Matrix. That's what I'm saying. That's why, like, when Cypher sits down and he's talking to him and he's planning to set them up, he's like, I know this steak isn't real, but it tastes so good and it feels so good. Like, I know none of it's real, but I don't care. I want to be rich and I want to be able to taste steak again. He wanted to go back in. It's okay.
It's
Like,
not.
it's okay. Kool-Aid is bomb. Mayonnaise is still terrible. Yo, I'm convinced that everything outside the Matrix tastes like mayonnaise, bro. You see what they was eating, bro? I'm convinced.
Everything
I'm gonna do it.
outside is mayonnaise.
Right. And this is, I mean, again, like, at some point you got introduced to anime
I did.
and you never left the rabbit hole. Like, you just kept, like, I like anime, but I didn't go down the rabbit hole the same way. Like, I got out.
See, but I'm also wondering, and I often wonder if because I didn't think I had an obsessive personality until I sat down and thought about just how many rabbit holes I can and will fall into. Anything to me there are very few things that I genuinely don't enjoy or can't find some kind of enjoyment in.
Yes.
I
apologize for that.
Yeah, you should. You should. So
take the blame.
Because I don't like Star Wars, but I'll still watch it. It's fine. You know? But like I can't because I can find enjoyment in anything, when I find something that I do genuinely enjoy, it becomes
magnified.
My personality. It's like dopamine. It's like drugs. Like once you are once you're addicted to a drug, it changes the endorphins. Like regular endorphins are no longer enough for you. So you have to get that. Like that is what addiction is.
Sure.
Like physically, scientifically. But like, all right, we can talk about it because I'll always talk about it. Again, it's my personality.
K-pop.
Yeah, like I left for a while, but I never really left. It was still on my playlist. But when I find a new group, there is something so special. There's a specific sound. When you take little ding dong ding dong ding dong ding, and you take it down and then you go up like that, that's a good sound.
Something to you?
When a hi-hat, I like a song with a good hi-hat. I really do.
Me too. They're just not K-pop songs for me.
That's fine. But I can show you some good ones. You just let me know.
I have enjoyed. I don't not enjoy K-pop. I don't know what they talking about.
That's okay.
They got some bops.
But I'm just like, I think the way that I experience rabbit holes gets magnified because of my personality type.
I don't think that's quite as specific to you as you might think.
I hope not.
I think it happens to everyone. I think that in the same way, I mean, you might not consider it a rabbit hole, but in the same way that, like, you know, people might be channel surfing, just like on TV and just going through channels, and they come across something that, like, even if they've seen it before or whatever, they just, and it's not even like it's not their favorite movie or whatever, but they just stop on it. And then they don't even realize that they stopped on it and they're watching it until like a commercial comes on. You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. And then they keep surfing again, right? Like they're looking for that next hit of finding something that they like or something that's familiar to them. Yeah. When people get a hit of something that's familiar to them or something that seems like it's... So if you're on TikTok and you see a video and you enjoy it and you watch it 4 times in a row before you click the next thing, right? The algorithm goes, oh, they like this. We're going to show them more stuff like this. And you begin to learn that as you continue to scroll, you're likely to see more things you like. What? And if that thing, it's so easy to bypass something if the first impression you get, which only takes a split second, doesn't seem like something that you're into, you just scroll past it.
Yeah.
Right? And you go to the next thing, which is why they have an algorithm that says if they stop on this for 3 seconds or more, this goes into their algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
That's like how views work in a lot of cases, right? Stop on it for 3 seconds or more. That's considered an impression. That counts. We're going to add this in, right? And that's how you end up. And you're like, I don't even know how I got on prison TikTok because you stopped.
Mm-hmm.
You stopped. Now you in there.
And
or you searched it.
Prison TikTok.
Mhm.
I feel like part of the reason a lot of people get sucked into prison TikTok is because of that initial shock. So those 3 seconds that you're like, wait a minute, is this a jail?
How did they get a phone?
You
Why do they have a phone?
now
Who let them
you're
do
stuck
this?
there.
It's not even about
real.
necessarily the content.
No,
It's the
it's just,
idea
wait a
behind
minute.
how did they create this content.
And
That's
now
a real
you're
thing.
there. And now you're just there.
How does somebody in jail have millions of followers? I don't understand this. It's a real thing.
Incredible.
I think we all experience it. Queen, you went to karaoke for years before singing on a regular basis or without being prompted / forced or told that you were doing it as part of a group by, somebody who cared. Became a thing. Did you spit out your apple juice?
First of all, it's not apple juice, it's Gatorade. Second of all,
Okay.
no.
Okay,
But I
good.
almost did.
Okay. Cool.
Continue. And don't make a clip out of it.
Oh, it's done. But now that like you're doing that on a regular basis, would you say that, like, listen, you're gonna try to tell me there's not a certain amount of like an endorphin rush that you get when you're there and like you do a song and it's a song you really like and you love and you can hear yourself singing it really well and you become proud of yourself for doing, not just for doing it, but for being up there, for having the courage to go. And then people as you come off are like, go girl, you did it. You know what I'm saying? You better sing. Like all of that, like all that you're hearing. Like, are you going to try to tell me that there's not some part of a rush, that endorphin that kicks in? You're like, it felt pretty good. I think I might do that again. And now, listen, now you're texting me like, hey, you going to karaoke tonight? I used to have to like drag you, like, you trying to go? Now you like, you going? And I'd be like, nah, I'm not going tonight. All right, well, I'm going to be there though. Oh, all right. You're not in a rabbit hole?
You'll
be in a rabbit hole. Listen, I be paying attention. I be looking at your post. I be like, yo, what is she doing? She with all the people. She in the groups. She in the group chat. You all the way in.
I know. I don't know how
I tried to get you there like 4 years ago. He was like, nah, I don't really like songs. Music's not really my thing. I mean, I like songs, but songs don't really do anything for me. I mean, I won't, not in front of people. I mean, I like doing it in front of people, but I don't really have to. Sometimes I just feel like, I mean, I know I can do it. Like, you'll do it with me, right? Yes. All right, I'll do it. Like, and there, you know what I'm saying? There we go.
Nailed it.
Like, you in a rabbit hole now, right?
Yeah, I am.
What is it? Why? Why are you in that rabbit hole? What happened?
What happened? It's the rush. It's really the rush that it's the positive feedback.
Right.
So
the thing that you were afraid you weren't going to get.
Right.
You were shying away from it because you didn't feel like that positive feedback, positive reinforcement was going to be there.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, there's a little more to it. You got a certain special somebody in your corner that's like, you can do this. Go do it. Right? Even when they don't really want to do it. And now they also
for real
be singing in bars. What? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jina, you out the loop.
It's been a while since I've been to karaoke. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you out the loop. It's a real thing now.
Yeah, I go like 4 times a week. It's insane.
You ever been to a karaoke room?
There's a room?
I'm planning one. Like,
there's a karaoke room. My cousin was proposed to in a karaoke room.
Aww.
That's real.
I know. They
Like
sang "Let's
during a
Get
song,
Married."
like that they like.
Yes, let's
Oh,
get no. It was all the boys, all the guys. They were saying "Let's Get Married," and then he
that's dope.
proposed to her.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it. I dig it. Yeah, I've been I'm working on a little.
I know a place.
I know you do.
I know a
What's
couple
up?
places.
I know you do. Yeah, you can just rent the room out. You pay like by the hour or whatever, and get your people in there, and y'all just have at it. Which is cool because you're not waiting for other people to go first, and then
Yeah,
you got to go or whatever. It's just y'all. You know what I mean?
Nobody
Which
else
is
listening.
and I've learned the whole tip thing too don't work.
oh
Where it
really
says tip your
to
DJ
move your
to
name up.
promote you to move your name up. Nah, it don't work.
Nah, you know
He'll
what?
say, "Oh, thank you so much," put you on blast, and thank you so much for the donation. But but he don't. I was like, dang, I need to go, but you
Just
fucked up.
listen.
Like,
You might do better. Maybe just walk up and put cash in the jar. Listen, I'm trying to go now. What's up? Can I get a little? I gotta leave. You know, maybe you got to do it that way. Yeah. I think rabbit holes are forever. I think they are. I've been playing video games since I was 4.
my rabbit holes are books. My mom
That's
would say I have a hoarding problem. I think the latter.
Get you a Kindle.
You're a collector, right?
I love the smell of. I have Wattpad. I have Webtoon. I have all the Radish. I have Inkit. I have Kindle. I have actual books, but I'm be honest. Like I read a lot of digital stuff too, and I have blue light glasses for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
But the feel and the smell
Mm-hmm.
of a book of pages
Of
is
dead
just
trees.
like
The smell of dead trees does something to you, huh?
you know what?
I'm just saying. Sometimes you just gotta tell it like it is. You like the smell of dead trees. That's cool. That's what libraries smell like. Libraries smell like a tree cemetery. That's what.
I cannot.
What, I'm wrong?
You're gonna look at me and you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong.
Librarians live in. They work at tree cemeteries. It's cool.
But it's just the experience. Now let me tell you.
You like hardback
I'm
books
the type
better
of person.
than paperback?
I'm mixed because would I like a hardback? Absolutely.
Okay.
Can I afford a hardback? No, not all the time.
Okay.
Now, one day, like for two specific series, I would like all the hardback of, like, I want a library. Okay. I want an office library where I have multiple like covers of the same book.
Library is code for tree cemetery.
Stop.
You want multiple of the same cover of a book?
Yeah.
I love that for
different
you.
Designs.
It feels good. It feels good.
Oh, different designs. like different
design,
like
yeah.
volumes of the same, like not like it's a different book.
Different
same
art.
book inside, but like
same book, different art, different artwork. There's some books that have like the edgings of the pages are like painted in a picture and it shows like a land. Like I want people make Funko Pop dolls of characters from books, and I want them all. Like I have Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask. Like
you love them both.
I love them both, and I have Luna, but I want Neo Queen, Serenity, and King and Demion, and Little and Small Lady. I want them so badly. I want the whole entire thing, and
Because listen, I'm going to tell you, that's a very, very real thing in the comic book world because they do what they call variant covers, right? So there's a book that comes out, and this is the main cover, and then there's a variant cover. It's the same book, but it's a different cover on it, and people are like, I need all of them. Look. Collectors. It's like
I have multiple versions of the same album because they have different covers. It's okay. Treat yourself. Do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
Listen,
But I can't
live
have
your
that right
truth.
now. I don't got the space.
Oh yeah, me neither. Me neither.
What
I don't got the
happens is
space, and now it's
you upgrade your space. You make space. Sometimes you got to put some stuff away. You have any idea how much Spider-Man stuff is not on display? Like I don't.
Don't
This
ask
is
them either.
nothing. Like what you see back. This is nothing. This is stupid. Like
oh
I
no,
asked him
trust
for a
me,
Star Wars
I
shirt.
have books in boxes.
yeah.
Spider-Man. He pulled out like 20 Spider-Man shirts before he found the Star Wars shirt I was looking for.
Yo, that happened today, yo.
Yes, yeah. It
last
literally
night.
happened
Last
today.
night. It was last night.
It was last night. I needed a shirt for work, and I was like, "Hey, I know you have a Star Wars shirt somewhere." And he was like, "Yeah, I got you." I don't know. That's Spider-Man. I went upstairs, had a whole phone call by the time he finally found the
I
shirt.
want you to know that that's a real like her doing this was an action. You know how like people do that in cartoons and they just that was
No,
actually what I was doing. Like I was pulling out. That's that joint Spider-Man. Now that's Spider-Man. That's a Spider-Man joint. I can wear Spider-Man shirts for probably 6 months and never
no.
repeat
I
it.
think you can wear Spider-Man shirts for longer than that.
I said probably.
You
Spider-Man's my
said-
rabbit hole.
Yes.
I just never and there's no reason to stop. Like it goes. Like if books is your thing, you enjoy books. You know what I mean? Like take a long, strong cemetery whiff. You know what I'm saying? And enjoy yourself. Just you know what I'm saying? Enjoy yourself. It there is something inherently special about finding something, almost anything that is not harmful to yourself or anyone else, that you can just keep going back to. Something that satisfies you and helps you get through the day. Or you know what, like when somebody says to me, I really just want to go home and sit down and curl up with a good book, that sounds so strange to me, except for the part of I understand the comfort. Like I want to go home and sit down and I want to play a video game and I want to shoot things. You know what I'm saying? Like it's comfort food because I know it. Like I understand it. You know what I'm saying? Right, Queen? You know what I'm talking about. Apex Legend. You know what I'm saying? What's your level, Queen? Out here
I'm not even
bodying
know.
dude.
It's like 90 something. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. It's way higher than my joint. You know what I'm saying? Like it just when you find something like that for a long time for me it was music. Forever it's been music. It still is music, right? Like that. The rabbit hole is something that's comfortable to you. It's not always healthy, but it's something that's comfortable for you and allows you to get that hit. You know what I'm saying? That scroll culture, that move on to the next thing because I'm hungry for more, because I'm enjoying my time. You only spend an hour stuck in that rabbit hole because you're enjoying your time. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing it, right? And you have to tell yourself, you have to cut yourself off. You have to stop, right? When you're binge watching that show that you happen to be in the rabbit hole of at that moment, and you have to tell yourself, okay, I was only going to watch one episode. I'm on my 4th episode or I'm on my 6th episode, and I really do need to go to sleep because I got to get up. You know what I mean? Or whatever.
or
And
it's
you have
5 o'clock
to
in the morning.
That was me
exactly.
last night.
Oh, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm still reading. Well, I'll close my eyes for an hour and then wake back up.
I'm gonna tell you, I did that watching. A lot of times when I go to sleep, I just put YouTube on and just let it rock. I need noise to go to sleep, so I just let it rock. I woke up in the middle of the night. I'm starting to get into this like biphasic sleep thing where I just sleep twice, which is more natural. That's a slightly different subject, but I woke up and the first Inuyasha movie was on. And I was like, "Ooh, I haven't seen this in a long time." My intention was just let it play and go back to sleep, but I ended up watching the whole thing. And when it went off, I watched the next joint. And when that joint went off, I started the 3rd joint and was like, "I can't watch this. I gotta go to sleep. I have to." But it was just like, it wasn't just like, man, it's been so long since I seen this, but it was also like, it was a nostalgia trip, and you know what I'm saying, in a way, without like putting on the show and watching the show. it was the movies, and it just kind of brought a bunch of stuff back, and it was like, oh man, I remember watching these joints. And Zaina was like 4, and she be in my room laying in the bed. Yeah, like you was little.
I've never seen Inuyasha a day in my life.
But you have. You just don't remember.
Okay.
Or maybe you was asleep. You was probably supposed to be asleep. It's nothing. Look, a good rabbit hole is healthy, but it's definitely infinite. It's definitely infinite. It's not a quick joint. Right, Gina?
Yeah.
See? Gina said it, so it must be so. Right, Queen?
Yeah.
You going to karaoke this week?
Yes.
Okay.
I've already made up my mind.
I'm sure you did. And you probably know what you're going to sing too. And that's cool.
Yep.
Then you'll find something new to sing, and it'll be a whole new trip all over again. All right, look, it's been a long show. We're going to wrap this up so people can go to bed, get some rest. I want to thank all 3 of you ladies for hanging out tonight. Z Money, I got your name right all show, I think. I don't think I messed it up, not even once.
Anecdotal stories, you got it wrong, but it's fine.
Yeah, in those joints, but that's who you were in the old stories, like in the stories.
Yes.
You feel me? See, I'm in there. Gina, thank you. I appreciate you hanging out. I know you got things you got to do, so I definitely appreciate you hanging out. Queen, I appreciate you having the strength.
Yes.
Participate and be here with us tonight. You've been listening to the 4th episode of Good Conversation and Shenanigans. We had a little bit of both here this evening. It's easy to follow us. I'll put it all in the description. Please do that with that route. Tools lose.